Yo, 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 check, 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2, check 1 2 1 2. I'm GG, man. You tuned in to the Green Gorilla channel. It's the place where black men can express themselves freely, straight up with no chasers, yo. And before I get things started, man, I want to give a shout out to all the haters out there, man. God bless y'all, man. You know, hope y'all having a good afternoon. You feel me? If you're coming in, man, could you please hit the like button, man, the subscribe button, and the bell notification button so you can stay abreast of what's cracking here on the Green Gorilla channel. Please do that. Please do that. Please do that. And also, man, if you can muster up the energy, man, you know.
Share the damn video, bitch.
Share the video, man. That's my drummer boy intro, man. Share the video, bitch. Also, man, you know, like I always do, man, I want to give a shout out to all the people who support the Green Gorilla channel, man. So let me start with that process, man, and then we're going to get to the business, man. We came here to do this afternoon. So shout out to G-Star, Hero in the Apocalypse, Ted Gunderson, Outside the Cube, Gerard Shelton, Rais Moorji, Black Men Being Brutally Honest, Wild Bear 50, and Sunra 44, man. Big up. Big up to Barnolis, No Sleep, BGS Ipmore, Jazz Stack, FA for Life, Andre 416, Manus on Break, Lock Vegas 05, Bimrock, Brotherly Love 215, and Damien H. Big up. Big up to the Passport OG, Dr. Tiasan Johnson, Rasheed Barnes, Black's Word 404, Ben Cannon Kenton, Sherlin Woe, Leon 008, Artisan MC, and Dub Will. Big up. Big up to Mr. Good Dad, Third Coast X, Roderick Jackson, Michael Ross, 63rd Samurai, Devon Loveridge, Ishmael Samad, The Watcher, Hostile Adept, and the Rootless, Heartless Revelator. Big up. Big up to Kill the Game, Dr. Thunder, Jason Hales, Charles Finney, Interesting Thought, The Silent Warrior, Naomi Gary, J. Cleveland Green, The Toxic Masculinist, Pulpit 28, Larry R, Seth Son, Afro Truth TV, Show Me, Spain Man, Seven Coast Dojo, Anthony Davis, I'm Just Jules, and Honest Look, and Ricky Dawson. Big up. Big up to Stefan, True 7360, Mr. Me Too, Call for President, Gold Professor, AKs and Curtains, H-Town, Roguish the Billmonger, Adrian Thomas, and Electrician 480. Big up. Big up to Binga, Cutting Up with the Jones, Zanco 1, D. Scott, Path Guy 74, Peak Rock 496, Aaron Peters, Vincent Lindsay, Quiz the Poet, Black Wizard 80 OS. Big up. Big up to Shadow Observer, Troy Warren, Mrs. KP Bailey, Alan Wiley, DeFace, Life of Commerce, AI Apostle, Timothy Blewett, Jeffrey Speed, and Marvin Battle Jr. Big up. Big up to Adam, Ignatz Mouse, Dr. Tree 33, 77 Base X, Brian McMurray, Karen S, Charles Rogers, Rick Ross, Sandra Jean, Charles Gilmore, and Greg. Big up, man. Big up to Barry Little, Mr. Valentino, Cameron 87, Dr. Rock, Mark Swift, Odd Collard, Donald Watts, Coach Hotep, Old Soul Chief, Mr. Blue Collar, TD Hip Hop Media, Drew Main, Mr. Heat, Sir Anthony, MLR, Universal 178, Aaron Smith, DH, A Double, Kalanja Kala, and WPR1. And I can't forget the brethren in the, you know, the next plane of existence, man. David Carroll, Forrest Windu, and Kevin Samuels. Big up, man. Real talk. Also on the Patreon side, I would like to give a shout out to Robert Wicks, Shine Language, Chris Flowers, Christopher Burton, Daxby the Tetrahedron, Jay Live, Rashawn Phillips Searles, Keith Bass, Nick, Albert C, Dr. Ben Vincent, J. Cleveland Green, I'm the Light of My Father, Waffle Weave, Darnell Smith, Excalibur, Pursuer Prisoner, Taz, Dragon 59, Jay Bailey, Mr. Michi Momal, and the Sangwa. Big up to all y'all, man. Thank you so much. You deserve a round of applause, man. And a big fat air horn, man, a rally. Thank you so much for supporting the Green Gorilla channel on an ongoing basis. If you want to do the same thing because you value the content I provide, man, here's how you do it. Now, I'll be back. What's good, everybody? I'm the G with a PhD, and you're tuned in to the Green Gorilla channel, the place where black men can express themselves freely, straight up, no chaser. Today, I want to introduce you to my new membership program that consists of 5 levels where you can invest in the Green Gorilla channel on a monthly basis and receive level-specific perks. Memberships are special because they improve the quality of the content of the channel and will help me to be able to keep the channel going. Now, to participate in the Green Gorilla Channel membership program, all you have to do is hit the join button, which is located right next to the subscribe button on my channel page. Now, for all of my subscribers who decide not to participate in my membership program, nothing will change. The content will keep coming the way it always has. Thanks for watching, and be careful out here, people. Bless. All right, man, I'm GG. You tuned in to the Green Gorilla Channel. It's the place where black men are allowed to express themselves freely, straight up, with no chasers, man. And before I get things started, I want to shout out everybody out in the chat. I see some people out there, man. I see Indigo Flow out there. I keep it 100. What's cracking with you, Marcus? Gabriel Meth, I'm listening. BGS Ibmore, thank you for the shout out earlier. John Jones, what's cracking with you? I thank you so much for the donation as well. You know what I'm saying? That $1.99, man, come right on time, man. That's a chicken leg, you feel me? That's a chicken leg, you feel me? Anyway, shout out to John Jones, man. Christopher Clipper, shout out to him. Hasim Abdul Jalil, shout out to him. Adric Hapoy, shout out. Lucy, what's cracking with you? How you doing? And, I'm listening. What's up with you? Dr. Thunder, what's cracking with you out there, bro? You know what I'm saying? So, Miguelito, 69, Bud Buddies. FA for Life, Andre 416 was cracking. Crozier was cracking. Truth as I know it was cracking with you. And everybody, just general goodwill out there, man. Now, before I even start with this presentation, man, the one thing that I want to let y'all know is, I gotta let you know before I even get this thing kicked off, man. Before I even start, bro, I just wanted to let it be known that respecting yourself and standing up for your rights or your boundaries and having the expectation that people treat you fairly are, to me, like the building blocks of self-esteem and healthy relationships, okay? So that should go without saying, okay? I don't know if you've ever heard of game theory, but like game theorists suggest that much of the creatures that exist in the biological kingdom, they operate under some form of a modified tit for tat strategy. That is, there's a forgiving tit for tat that organisms take up, which implies that organisms stand up for themselves when they're wrong, but they're also ready to cooperate when the other party reciprocates positively, okay? So just to let that be known, okay? And I'm not, in giving this presentation, promoting passivity or victimhood. Instead, what I'm trying to do is call for a more nuanced understanding of strength and what leadership is. Being a leader isn't just being an arrogant, ignorant asshole. There's more to it than that, bro. Real talk. Not just being an asshole, okay? There's more to it. There's more connected to it than that, okay? Just to let you know, okay? So you won't be hearing a lot of bombs or anything, but I'm just going to get right into this, man. So get right into this, man. And you got to let me know if the music bothers you, man. I'll cut it off, okay? But everybody else got a little background music here. Now I figure, hey, why not me have a little background music? You feel me? But anyway, man, having said what I said, that's my disclaimer. Okay? So today what we're going to do is dive into a myth that has influenced popular culture. It's influenced business, literature, and practices, and the way we view leadership in general. And you probably heard of the term before. It's used profusely in this space. It's the alpha male, okay? And it is a term that conjures up images of dominance, competitiveness, strength, and control. and it's often associated with the animal kingdom, but specifically with wolf packs. But then the question is, how accurate is this concept? And what are its implications for us, especially in the realms of leadership and social behavior? Now, the reason I'm doing this is because this will be a pretext for a show that I'm doing tomorrow. Tomorrow, I'm going in on your boy Amazing. Because I think he got hot and bothered by some of the things that I said when I was on BGS's show, which prompted him to make a video about the bussy sphere or whatever the case may be. But at the end of the day, I just, I have some things to say about guys who got these chips on their shoulders, man, and who run around performing man drag, which is what I consider it to be. But that's just my opinion, okay? So what we're going to do is trace the journey of the alpha male concept from its inceptions in early animal behavior studies. Then we're going to travel through its integration into business literature, to the modern reevaluation of the stereotype in light of new understandings of effective leadership. So in other words, what we're going to do is debunk some misconceptions, challenge some of your assumptions and norms, and by the end, hopefully you'll have a fresh perspective on what it actually means to be an effective leader. I was just talking to Marcus yesterday about some character traits which lead to you being a good leader or a good man. And one of the things that people seem to lose in translation is that humility is a big part of what it means to be a man. Humility, being humble, being able to admit when you don't know something or when you're wrong. Being able to cooperate with others when they're willing to extend an olive branch and to cooperate with you, but at the same time, reprimanding those, who are acting up. But it doesn't mean just being an overall jerk just for the sake of being a jerk. That's non-productive. That's not masculine. But a lot of guys, I think, are caught up in this whole alpha ideal or ideology, and they don't really actually have any kind of understanding of what masculinity or manhood really actually is. So anyway, let's start at the beginning with the first studies that introduced the concept of the alpha wolf, and let's see how this idea has led to this myth, this powerful and this enduring myth. Okay, so the story of the alpha male begins with what? It begins with a wolf. Okay? That's where it starts. Okay? But it also starts with a misunderstanding of wolf behavior. Because in the middle of the 20th century, like around the 1950s, an animal behaviorist named Rudolf Schenkel observed a group of captive wolves, and he identified a hierarchical structure there. And he noticed that one male and one female wolf seemed to have more control and status than all of the other wolves. And so he dubbed these male and female leaders or the controllers of the pack alpha wolves, okay? And this is a quote directly from Schenkel, right? He says, a rank order exists with only one animal being dominant or alpha at any one time. This conclusion was drawn from the aggression and dominance he observed in the captive wolves. Now, here's where things begin to go awry. Schenkel's observations were of wolves in captivity, wolves behind a fence, and that wolves who were unrelated to each other and forced to live together in an unnatural environment. And their behavior was a reaction to this stressful situation, not a reflection of their natural social structure. Now, this is important because this context was lost as Schenkel's findings began to spread. Okay, so his description of alpha and beta wolves eventually took hold in popular culture, and it kind of morphed into this powerful but this oversimplified narrative of dominant alpha males. Then fast forward about 20 years. Fast forward about 20 years, I'd say. And then you get David Met. Okay? Who is David Met? He is or was a young scientist who was inspired by Schenkel's work, and he carried this narrative into his own studies of wolves. So in 1970, he wrote a book, and the book's name was The Wolf: Ecology and Behavior of an Endangered Species. And in this book, he further cemented the idea of the alpha wolf into popular consciousness, okay? So he wrote that the top ranking or alpha animal is dominant to all others in the pack. So this idea, which was already a simplification of what Schenkel had said before, was basically boiled down into the public's mind and registered there as an image of the alpha male, some powerful, aggressive leader who achieved his status through dominance and through control. It was a compelling image, but it was based on flawed science, okay? So Mech himself has since rejected the entire concept of the alpha wolf. And he acknowledges that his early work was based on a misinterpretation of wolf behavior. And he argues that the alpha implies competing with others and becoming top dog by winning a contest or having had a battle. But he says that most wolves who lead packs don't achieve their position by combat or through contest. They attain their position simply by mating and by producing offspring, which then become their pack. In other words, and this is important, in other words, let me get rid of the music really quickly because I want to emphasize this. Okay? Wolves who are alphas are merely breeders. They're parents. And that's what they are called today. Not alphas, not betas, not sigmas. They're called parents, breeders. This is it. Okay? Nothing more, nothing less. And because I like receipts, I will demonstrate to you what he says by allowing him to speak for himself. Here's what he says.
The term alpha isn't really accurate when describing most of the leaders of wolf packs because the term implies that the wolves fought and competed strongly to get to the top of the pack. In actuality, the way they get there is merely by mating with a member of the opposite sex, producing a bunch of offspring, which are the rest of the pack then, and becoming the natural leaders that way, just like with a pair of humans producing a family. Instead of using the term alpha for a wolf, instead of saying alpha male or alpha female, scientists now tend to call wolves like that the breeding male and the breeding female. And or you can call them the mother wolf and the father wolf. There's really nothing wrong with that. Those are much better and more accurate terms than the term alpha. Actually, you know, I'm very much to blame for the term alpha being used with wolves. I published a book in 1970 that now has over 110,000 copies in circulation, and in that I labeled the top wolf in the pack the alpha. And I did that because at that time that's all that science knew. But we've learned a lot. That book was published in 1970, and in the 35 years since that time, we've learned an awful lot. One of the things we've learned is that the term alpha is really incorrect when applied to most wolf pack leaders.
Okay, so here we are. There we go. There we go. So let me get my little visuals going again and my music popping back again. So there you have it. You have the originator, was not the originator, but one of the people who picked up from the originator, because the originator was Schenkel, but David Meck also picked up this notion that like wolves had like this hierarchical structure predicated upon conflict and fighting and battling with each other in order to, get to the top of the pile, to be at the top of the dominance hierarchy. When in reality, what actually constitutes a healthy pack is just parents governing over their children until the children, I guess, matured up to the point where they start packs of their own. This is it. Okay? But here's the thing though. As the concept of the alpha wolf took hold in popular consciousness, it didn't stay confined to discussions of animal behavior. It soon began to be applied to human social dynamics as well, but particularly in the realm of business and leadership. So from the late 70s to the 90s, the concept of alpha males started infiltrating business literature and models of leadership. Okay? One such example, if you must know, is that of an author by the name of Robert Ringer. Many books, such as his Winning Through Intimidation, emphasize a dominant, assertive style, hearkening back to the alpha concept. Okay? So these interpretations and the adoption of the alpha male concept contributed to its spread across multiple platforms, from book seminars to online content. And its appeal basically is in its simplicity. The idea that the most dominant person or individual is the most successful leader. Okay? Now, it's not hard to see how this idea caught on because it played into existing stereotypes and expectations about what a real man is and leadership, what real leadership looks like in the corporate world. So you got the alpha male with his dominance and his confidence, and it epitomizes like the powerful, take charge leader that many people, value in terms of, what their CEOs have in terms of character traits or whatever the case may be, right? But the application of the alpha male concept to human leadership was based on a misunderstanding of both animal behavior and human leadership dynamics. Okay? But here's the thing. The myth of the alpha male didn't just permeate the world of business and leadership. It also found its way into dating strategy literature, impacting how men and women view their roles in relationships. So then you start to get books, and I'm not going to put the exact, pictures of those books up, but there are many books out there, right? Books like, The Game, or, Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus, and all this shit. They basically tout the alpha male as the archetype of the successful man in dating, implying that dominance and assertiveness and control are the keys to basically getting women. As many of y'all know in the manosphere, getting bitches, okay? But one interesting development of this phenomenon is how it began to influence specific communities. And y'all ain't gonna like this, but I gotta tell you, in particular, the black community. Because the alpha male concept can become a seductive ideology, especially for individuals or groups who have historically experienced marginalization or oppression. The alpha male is the top dog who commands respect, gets what he wants. It's an enticing image for black men who have been marginalized and subjected to domination in Western culture. However, it's important to recognize that it is still based on the same flawed science and the narrow view of masculinity put forth by Schenkel about wolves in captivity and David Meck after him. It's just bad science. It's been debunked. But furthermore, as we're about to see, the idea that the most successful man or wolf is the one who basically is the most dominant and in control by, terrorizing people and going through battles, that's inaccurate. It misrepresents the complexities of leadership, social interactions, and what it means to be successful, not only as a man, but just somebody who's part of a team. So you got Franz de Waal. He's a renowned primatologist and ethologist who paints a different picture of leadership in the animal kingdom. And according to his research, the most effective leaders are those who enhance cooperation, not create a whole bunch of enmity, strife, trouble, not a bunch of people engaged in slander, but people who enhance cooperation, who resolve conflicts, not keep them going, and who make strong social bonds, rather than those who just assert their own individual dominance. So, as our understanding of the animal behavior that exists in nature and human psychology has evolved, so has our perception of the alpha male concept. The aggressive, dominant alpha male leader isn't the ideal many once believed. Because recent research in leadership has revealed, and there are research studies done on leadership and what makes a person an effective leader, okay? The research reveals that the most effective leaders are those people who value collaboration. Get it? Collaboration. Inclusivity, they include people and get there and register their ideas. And people who have emotional intelligence, not people who go off the rails as soon as they encounter something that makes them uncomfortable. Okay? And this stands in stark contrast to the classical alpha male image. Again, as I said before, I would play the video again if you need to see it. David Mack, one of the originators of the alpha wolf concept, renounced his earlier work, describing it as outdated based on later observations of natural wolf behavior. Natural wolf behavior. Natural wolf behavior. He emphasized that the notion of alpha wolves competing with others to become the top dog was a gross misunderstanding. Again, Mack, the person who's responsible for proliferating this concept into the public after Schenkel, asserts most wolves who lead packs achieve their position simply by screwing and producing pups, which then became their pack. In other words, they are merely breeders or parents. That's what we call them today. That's all we call them. The breeding male, the breeding female, or the male parent or the female parent, or the adult male or adult female. In the rare packs that include more than one breeding animal, the dominant breeder can be called that, but any breeding daughter can be called a subordinate breeder. So this revised understanding of wolf pack dynamics has significant implications for our understanding of leadership and social behavior. And Franz de Waal, he's an ethologist and an animal, a person who studies, like the actions and the social culture of animals. Basically, he says that in observing primates, the leaders, and we are a species of primates. He found that leaders are often those who are able to forge strong social bonds, who are able to resolve conflicts, and to enhance cooperation within the group. Those are what the leaders are able to do. Not bang and slap motherfuckers upside the head. Not pump and check people. So anyway, what all this points to is the need for a reevaluation of the alpha male concept. Because dominating and aggression in and of itself are not the keys to effective leadership. Like if you start getting aggressive with people, you're going to create a knee-jerk reaction where people are going to become aggressive with you. Okay? So aggression is not the key to effective leadership in either the animal kingdom or in human societies. As we move forward, it's vital to try to dispel these myths that have shaped our understanding and to embrace the complex realities of leadership and social dynamics. And this is the key takeaway from this discussion. Leadership isn't about dominating. It's about cooperating. It's about building relationships. It's about knowing how to check your emotions. People say, like you're logical. I'm logical. Okay, well, it ain't time to, order for the murdering of vast sections of the population because they don't agree with your viewpoints. That's not leadership. That's insanity. Anyway, man, again, this is a disclaimer for all the critics and you SBE motherfuckers. I just want to emphasize this. None of what I've discussed today is intended to suggest that men should be weak or allow themselves to be subjected to abuse or exploitation. That is far from the truth. Again, I'll repeat this. Respecting yourself, asserting your rights and boundaries, and expecting fair treatment from others are all fundamental parts of self-respect and self-esteem and building healthy relationships. As I said, game theorists suggest that much of the biological or the animal kingdom operates under a strategy called modified tit for tat or forgiving tit for tat. It means you stand up for yourself when you're wronged, but if people begin to show some contrition and they extend an olive branch, the extent to which they're sincere in doing so, you take a shot at it. Maybe if they show that this is typically how nature responds to adversity. They try to reconcile, even in the animal kingdom. So this exploration of the alpha myth is not about promoting passivity or victimhood. Instead, it's a call for more nuanced understandings related to the concept of strength and leadership. And it challenges stereotypes that confine men to unrealistic and self-destructive activity and roles. True strength isn't about dominating and trying to show or demonstrate I'm the top dog. It's about fostering cooperation and respect. It's in building relationships, not tearing them apart. It's about understanding we're not locked into roles determined by flawed theories and outdated misconceptions. So as we conclude, man, let's move forward with the new perspective on what it means to be a leader, a man, and a human being. Let's dispel the bullshit. And that's the end of that, man. I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back, man. I'm GG. I left a link because I know there's going to be some people who kind of want to push back against this. But before I do that, I do want to say this. Shout out to Mike Johnston. Appreciate you, brother. Appreciate the donation. Thank you so much for that. SL, he says, drop them bombs on them. Thank you for what you do. Continue to be great. Appreciate that, sir. And BGS Ibmore says, pass the plate. True indeed. Pass the peas like they used to say. Pass the peas like they used to say. Pass the peas like they used to say. Pass the peas like they... Pass them then! But I mean, if there's anybody who wants to, push back against this, now's the time to do so. But again, like I said, I typically, when I present information, I have receipts. I have receipts. And look, contemporary psychology takes a more nuanced view of personality and leadership than simply classifying people as alpha or beta. Most modern psychologists and behavioral scientists do not refer to an alpha personality type as a valid or a useful term. It doesn't signify anything to or for them. The notion of an alpha individual as consistently dominant, aggressive, and confident is a simplification that doesn't take into account the complexities and the variations of human personality. That's how psychologists understand people, through personality traits, okay? Now, I know earlier there was some discussion of Briggs-Myers or Myers-Briggs or whatever the case may be. But a classical or a kind of ubiquitous model that's taken up by contemporary psychologists is something like the Big Five or the five-factor model. Look that up. The five-factor model. And it describes personality along five broad dimensions. You have openness to experience, conscientiousness, extroversion, agreeableness, and neuroticism. Those are the big five. And each of those dimensions encompasses a range of traits that can be related to it. For example, like an extrovert includes qualities such as sociability, assertiveness, someone who's like a risk taker or an excitement or a thrill seeker, right? Now, in terms of leadership, a variety of styles and traits can be effective, but it depends on the context. Like successful leaders, they have a broad range of personality traits. And some leaders may display what we might consider to be alpha traits, such as assertiveness or confidence, but they also have other traits like empathy. They have to be able to understand, in order to be an effective leader, what other people are feeling. They have to be able to register what's going on with other people's emotions. They have to be flexible. And they have to have intelligence, right? And these traits don't necessarily fit the alpha stereotype, because alpha's not empathetic to anybody. It's like, fuck you. I do what I want. Okay? It's also worth noting that the leader isn't always, the leadership isn't always about being like in control or being dominant. Many successful leaders display traits like being able to listen so they can understand what the fuck is going on. They know how to collaborate and build consensus. Those are like some effective qualities and traits that like leaders have. Also, a key aspect of modern leadership theory is the concept of something called situational leadership. Right? The idea that the most effective leadership style, it depends on the situation. Sometimes a more direct, assertive approach is needed, but in other circumstances, somebody who's more collaborative or a supportive approach is more effective. It all depends. So there's also that concept, right? So while the idea of an alpha personality type might have some appeal, popular appeal, it's not a concept that's generally recognized or used in modern psychological science or leadership theory. Okay? I'm trying to update you. You know how you got a computer, man, and you got the old software, and you ain't updated it in like about 5 or 6 iterations of the software, it's time to update the software, man. That's all I'm trying to do is give you the information. Now, you can take it and do what you want to do with it. Again, I thought it would be a lot more pushback than this. I thought it would be a lot more pushback than this. But you know what I was going to play for my intro? You know what I was going to play for my intro? I'm going to show you what I was going to play for my intro. But I decided I opted not to do that because I thought it would be in poor taste. But now since we're done with the presentation and we got through the meat and potatoes of it all, this is what I was about to show. Hold on. It's gonna make y'all look, might make you mad, it might not. Who knows, man? I don't know. But this is what I think about guys who consistently try to demonstrate that they're manly and shit. This is what it reminds me of. I'm just keeping it a buck with you, bro. That's what I think, hey man. Every time I see somebody trying too hard to be a man, that's what I think, man. Like, this is a man in drag, man. Real talk. Body. Body. Like, come on, man. You trying too hard, bro. You doing too much, man. JD Ecstatic, man. Shout out to you, bro. Appreciate that. Appreciate that. Man, it's on break. Appreciate you. Says doing God's work, GG. Appreciate that. Ebo Sosa, he said, what's the tune called played during the break? That joint with the flute playing. Man, yeah, bro, I can't even tell you, bro. I can't even tell you, Ebo Sosa, man. I'll email me, man. I'll send you a copy of the motherfucker, bro. Word to the strength. Ghetto User 49 says tuition. Appreciate you, bro. And Adric Hapoy says BGS tax. I'm just surprised nobody's pushing back against this whole thing, man. I'm surprised. But that's how I perceive guys trying to act tough as fuck. I perceive them as like the village people and shit. Like, dude, you trying too hard, man. Like, why you gotta, like what are you lacking? Why are you getting homoerotic and shit trying to demonstrate that you're a man, bro? Like, why is that necessary, bro? Like, you overcompensating for something you lacking by trying to demonstrate that you this macho motherfucker, man. Like, I'm the man. I'm a real man, a man. Like, come on, bro. It's too much, man. So, look, I'm waiting. I'm still waiting. Where's the pushback? And this, look, also, I want to push back against those persons who come and they say that other men are bitch ass niggas and shit. And I do this as well sometimes myself, which I'm guilty of, okay? But I try not to unless I am provoked to talk about men as being bitches and shit like that, you know, like some pussies and shit like, or like some gay or something like that, man. Come on, man. That shit is unnecessary. Now, if you keep fucking with me, I will go off on you, okay? I will get at you. But like guys who are consistently talking about how, you know, like if things bad to you happen in life, it's because you're not man enough, man. Come on, man. If anything happens to you that's negative in your life, it's the fact that you brought it upon yourself. You're responsible for it. Look, there was a video up yesterday. Tripped me out. Because Angry Man had an argument a long time ago, I think. I don't know how long ago it was. But he had an argument with a woman called the Queen Maker. Okay? And the Queen Maker had the following position. She said something to this effect. The person who is complaining, in the end, is the person who is responsible for whatever predicament that they find themselves in. So if you're complaining about being a baby mama, that's your fault. Or if you're complaining about being a baby daddy, it's your fault. You brought the state of affairs that you hate so much into existence. Now, I mean, in terms of pregnancy, one can see, you know, the salience of this, some validity exists to it, common sense and intuitively. But if you take the argument and you extrapolate it to other areas, you have to ask, is this like sane? Think about it. And this is what Angry Man said, and it made sense to me. It said, look, so you mean to tell me the Jews who complained about the Holocaust are responsible for bringing the fucking Holocaust into being? It's that they're responsible for genocide because they're complaining about it. It doesn't even make sense. It makes no fucking sense. But this is the sort of shit that I hear percolating through YouTube, black YouTube. Seeping into every nook and cranny. And I just don't understand it. And then also, I continuously hear these ideas about, and no disrespect, truth as I know it, but all of this vetting shit. Like, come on, bro. Like, at the end of the day, so I'm responsible for every other person's actions. There's never something they're responsible for. I'm responsible for everything that anybody does to me. So if I get fucking hit by a car when I'm walking across the street, when the light is saying that I got the fucking right of way, I'm responsible for getting my ass hit. I'm responsible for it. Anything that happens to me in the context of my relationship with others. So a person can lie to me. I'm fucked up because this bitch had the audacity to lie to me. Anything you go through is your fault. Because if you was a real motherfucking man, the shit wouldn't happen to you at all. So, in other words, if you a sucker, shit happens foul to you. If you a beta male bitch ass nigga, that's when negative things happen to you. But if you was like a real man, like say for example, the amazing Lucas, people wouldn't fuck with you because they know, real and recognize real. So, that's how it goes. But he's not the only person that puts forth these kind of notions. I'm saying that's shoddy reasoning. It's not even something that you can look at in terms of reality and say that this makes any fucking even common sense. It's ridiculous. Because if that's the case, then why would you have any animosity to people who do you wrong? If it all is predicated upon what you do and what you bring about as a state of affairs. How? I'm asking a question. If your wife for 15 years cheats on you, it's because you was a bitch ass nigga. If a chick somewhere gets raped, it's because she's a slut. Explain. I need some clarification on this shit because I don't get it. And I've been studying for quite a bit of time. I don't have the ability to comprehend what some of the claims are. Like, I don't understand the arguments related to them. I don't get it. I understand that you're not supposed to be a cream puff and, let people walk all over you an iterated, series of times. I get that. I can understand that. I can understand enabling behavior and shit like that. But I mean, in all instances where negative things happen to you, you're responsible for bringing that state of affairs into being? How? How? I'm just trying to figure out how. It's overly simplistic to suggest that individuals are entirely responsible for all the adversities that happen to them. You got many factors that influence a person's life circumstances. You got social economic factors, which no one has any control over when they're born, which can put you at either an advantage or a disadvantage. You don't have control unless in a preborn state, you get, while you were in the pussy, determine what the fuck your parents are going to do. You don't have control over your upbringing. Nobody gets to decide like Boss Baby in a preborn state who their fucking parents are going to be. You don't have control over that. You don't have control over your physical health prior to being born. You don't know if you're going to be born with a defect or not. You don't know what your mental health is going to be. You don't know what educational opportunities you will have, what societal structures you'll be born in. You don't know if you'll be fucking before you're born. You could have been Chinese. You could be white. You could be fucking brown, Latino or something. Random events or circumstances beyond your control have the possibility of happening. I'm not saying that everything is random, but there's a lot of randomness to your existence. It's just a fucking feature and a fact of reality. Now, I will say that, yeah, people do have a degree of responsibility in how they respond to adversity. Okay? We all know this, okay? That's a core tenet in many philosophies, Stoicism being one of them. Existentialism, a philosophical, another one, okay? It's important to know that this doesn't mean blaming individuals for misfortune, but rather acknowledging that we often have some control over how we respond to difficulty and adversity, how we interpret events, and how we choose to move forward. But to say that everything that happens, especially in your interpersonal life or the structural world, is all born by you, come on, man, stop the fucking cap. I'm some dumb, but I ain't plumb dumb. I was born at night. I wasn't born last night. So it's crucial to recognize the role, I think, of external factors and circumstances. And many people find it empowering to acknowledge the aspects of their lives that they can control or influence. I'm not saying that, you should. Again, I preface my comments by saying, I'm not saying that you should respond to adversity by blaming everything on everybody else. That's not what the fuck I'm saying. But some shit that happens to you outside of the context of your control, and other people do bear responsibility for it. What's the fucking problem with that? Spain, man, it was just Jeffrey O. Rosas, it's just a figure of speech, bro. I don't know if I was born at night or in the daytime or the afternoon, any of that shit. I don't know, man. I'm just like, I'm sitting here, using rhetoric in order to try to superimpose a certain set of understandings upon you as a listener. That's all I'm trying to do. Nothing more, nothing less. But I get peeved at people who make the case or try to make the case that if something negative happens to you, it's your fault. Oh, you got shot and killed, nigga, that's your fault. Especially by a motherfucker like Amazing Lucas. Like, bro, be serious, bro. Let's just keep it a buck, bro. Does this motherfucker look like a hardcore dude to you, man? Like, just straight up for real, dog. I'm just saying, I'm not trying to be ignorant, not trying to be deprecating, not trying to be pejorative, any of that. I just don't read like you's a hardcore dude like that. I don't get that from your aura, bro. I just don't, like, I don't get that from your energy. Your energy is too, I ain't gonna say it's zesty, but it's you know, it's a little nasally and shit like that as far as I'm concerned. That's just how I perceive it, you know what I mean? That's just how I look at it. And I guarantee you, like, that dude went off on his own channel and then he started talking shit about black men in the manosphere. And my thing is, bro, you came to start some drama so you can go back to your channel and get some motherfuckers to, you know, give you some bread or something like that. You did that shit for clout. You didn't do that for understanding. You had no intention of having, like, a good faith argument with anybody in that space when you came into it. You just came in there to start some motherfucking drama and to run out. So let me go over some of these comments. So Franklin Richard says, I don't know how people don't understand this. A lot of it is being driven by the young new black conservatives. They aren't balanced. All I'm going to tell them is, if it's the case that most of what happens to you in your life is your responsibility, okay, well then don't ever finger point at anybody. Don't ever have any moral approbation for anything anybody else does. Don't ever point the finger. Don't ever get agitated. Don't ever have a sense of indignation. Like, if somebody takes your fucking car stereo, you know, when you come out of the fucking mall and you find your windshield cracked and your shit is gone, or your purse, or whatever the case may be, whatever valuables you might have in your car or whatever. If somebody takes your fucking car and jacks you, it's your fault, motherfucker. Don't get mad. Shouldn't have been breathing, motherfucker. You shouldn't have been breathing. He says, the recent yellow YRC shutdowns, layoffs of thousands of people, no fault of their own. Well, according to them guys, you know, they should have had more marketable skills. Should have got your shit together and got your game up. So all I've been trying to do is to tell you, look, I have no issue. Again, I want to re-emphasize. I'm not saying anything that I've said in order to, you know, explain how it's permissible to wallow in despair while you're confronted with adversity. That's not it. All I'm saying is the following. Right? Alpha wolf ideology took hold in popular consciousness, and it morphed into the business world, and then it moved into the dating game. And unfortunately, for some reason, I guess guys didn't get the memo. That shit has been debunked for fucking goddamn how many years? Since what? The 2000s, bro. I can understand you not knowing this 30 years ago, 20 years ago. I could see you not knowing it then. But now you had the internet. You got it. I mean, you have to be able to know this shit is just some cap. Some shit that niggas made up. White boys made up. This is made it up. Anyway, man, ain't nobody gonna talk to me, so I'm about to burn the fuck up out of here, man. I done been here on an hour. And I'm gonna give it one more break. If I don't get nobody to chime in and to have a conversation, I'm out of here, man. I'll be back tomorrow. All right, I guess y'all ain't got no questions and you have no responses, so I'm out of here, man. I'll holler at y'all on the next one, man. Peace out. Y'all be good. Holler at you. Man, just when I was about to get on off here, man, I see Jay stepped up, man.
Hey, Green Gorilla.
John Jones, hold on. Let me get my view back right.
Okay.
Okay, my view is right now. Okay, I was about to close it out, but since you guys stepped up at the 11th hour, I'm gonna give you some time. Do you have a question or do you have a comment, Mr. J?
It was more of a question, it's kind of both. In reference to the whole animal analogy with alpha males, I mainly I've heard it with lions, that lions and apes more so than wolves, even though that may have been the origin. Do you feel like that the general consensus of what the alpha male and how it works with the lion pride, with the mainly the main lion, only sleeping with all the female in the pride, and then there being a challenge if that is a physical challenge, and he kills all the cubs of the previous ones. I mean, like it seemed to follow. See, I heard more. It seems like that analogy is more in line to what we can know of the alpha male than I say than the wolf.
And so let me say this in response to that. Now, first and foremost, man, I'm not saying that no conflict exists in nature. Okay, I know conflict exists in nature, but the question is whether or not conflict is the very thing that allows or permits for a person to be in control of a group of other people, right? Like they dominate the people who are in their group. Okay. Now, here's the thing: conflict only becomes salient or relevant when there's a scarcity of goods. Even within if there's a scarcity, you're gonna get conflict, bro. Okay, so I can see that, but like in a culture like this, where's the scarcity for real? Scarcity of what? Women? Are we competing for access to sex with other guys? Like that deeply? Like it's only it's 10 of us and it's only 5 chicks. Is that the situation?
People think that it is.
I'm just asking a question.
I think it's perception. I think people have a I think a lot of people have perceptual issues on how they see things, and some people go off what they're told, such as like this alpha male thing. I think a lot of people go off what's told, among other things, like such as like people who are, I guess we could say, predatory, or kind of like what's the word I want to use? Tyrannical. And they use like old adages and little bullshit to justify their bullshit. So even if it's old, people gonna want to run that same game so they can justify their fuckery.
And look, let me just say this. Like, okay, so look, here's how lion pride works, right? You usually got one or two adult males, sometimes more if they're brothers or they're closely related, right? And they mate with several adult females. So in this scenario, you know, they could be thought of, the males could be thought of as dominant in that they control territory and access to females, right?
Mm-hmm.
But they do not direct the actions of the pride or hold power over the females in the way the term alpha would suggest, especially in a contemporary Western marital relationship. That's not how that shit works. In alliance pride. I mean, like if you want to study, like if we're going to talk about nature, one thing we can do is we can observe nature and, you know, like we can hypothesize about it and then we can go use our senses and record what's actually happening there. Okay? So what we don't want to do is anthropomorphize what's going on in lion prides, but this is what ends up happening, right? The females, or the lionesses, they do most of the hunting, right? They work together to care for the cubs. They're highly social and cooperative, and there's no evidence that one lioness consistently takes on a leadership role in the same way an alpha would. Like in a fucking wolf pack, right? Moreover, the dominant males only hold their position for a few years before being ousted by another male or a group of males. And this isn't because of any failing as a leader. It's just how the dynamics of lion prides work. And nobody can be, like if you want to have a situation where everybody's fighting and combating to be the top dog, I mean, competition is one thing, but like, I mean, you know, this story has been seeped into, you know, like economic theory, and I just think it's inaccurate. It doesn't tell the full story of human sociability and cooperation. It just doesn't. Okay, but there certainly are dominant individuals in lion prides, but it's a bit of a stretch to call them alphas in the way the term is traditionally or often used.
Do you think that these misunderstandings will perpetuate the kind of psychosis and dysfunctionality we have in our society?
You staying where? Saudi
I said,
Arabia?
nah. I said, do you think that these type of misunderstandings will perpetuate like the type of psychoses and delusions that we have in our society?
Oh, society. I thought you said Saudis.
Nah.
So look, so my thing is this: we can study human beings and their social structures, but you can study the animal kingdom to get some understanding of like what mammals do, because we're mammals and shit like this. But ultimately, we have to plot our own course, and we don't need to use wolves in order to plot a course for human sociability and what's fair or not fair, or you know, like what creates efficiency or doesn't. We can, you know, like. Man, there are philosophers who've been doing this kind of work like for fucking millennia on how to create like efficient, just, and structurally sound polities or societies. You know, like, but the whole notion of, you know, I'm in constant competition with other people, bro, that's a fiction.
But didn't that come from? That came from what's his name, cousin? Darwin's cousin.
Yeah, you talking about Darwin? Yeah, competition, and you know. Now, look, I'm not saying that there's no competition in nature, okay? But you got to think about this. I want you to be really cognizant of this shit, right? Now, there might be a lot of pushing and pulling going on, but like straight out drag knuckle fighting, how often do you see that shit? Like, I mean, in real life, when's the last time you saw a fight?
Well, I saw two girls whooping. Two girls got in a fight in the car the other day, but aside from that, not too
What?
free.
How?
I see
Since
a
that
whole
fight,
lot of I see a
how,
whole lot of microaggressions being practiced. So maybe people aren't fist fighting anymore, but people are being aggressive toward each other in ways that could lead to fist fights, but a lot of times doesn't.
Yeah, people don't slug it out like how it's said to. There's usually like little tugs and wrestling and
and look,
Yeah,
I wouldn't say.
manipulate.
I would say. I would say this. Some societies are more or less set up or established in such a way that the ethos, the prevailing norm of aggressiveness, is either more or less paramount.
Well, I
Like I
would
mean,
say it's probably more paramount these days. Just people are just exhibiting in different ways. I mean, like driving, for instance. I mean, since the pandemic, how many people have you seen driving like absolute idiots down the road? And even in the rise in speeding tickets and car crashes and things like that, people are more
anxiety.
aggressive nowadays. Yeah,
Yeah,
people are more aggressive. But I just want to say briefly, if I could, I missed the entirety of your show. I'm gonna have to go back and listen to it. But I think you're asking why do men, particularly some women, keep bringing up this alpha stereotype? Because most of the time, people want to belong to something that makes them feel greater than what they actually are. That's basically it. Like just in the
like
past year, I've learned about the Sigma personality type, and I fit all of its parameters, and I fit those parameters throughout the entirety of my life. It wasn't just since I learned about it that I realized. It's since I learned about it, I was like, wow, that's why I feel this way. That's why I feel that way. So there is something to it. It may not apply to the animal kingdom, but people should, especially brothers and sisters, should get a personality type and find out where they fit in at, find out their capabilities, and find out their shortcomings, and accept them and practice them and become your better self. There is something to it.
and
I
look,
mean,
I
even
have
it,
no look. I have no issue. Again, like I said before, if you look at contemporary psychology, there's a more nuanced view of personality and leadership traits than by simply creating, like a class of people called alphas and betas. Like, I
right,
mean,
right,
I mean, it's more nuanced and sophisticated than that. It's more
right.
intricate.
It is.
So
It
like
is.
again, like I said, most modern psychologists and behavioral scientists are not going to make references to alpha personality types or even
No,
perceive
they
it as a valid expression or an explanation of what's going on when it comes to interactions between human beings. Okay,
right.
because the idea that the alpha is like if you trace the origins of it, it's about a consistently dominant and aggressive and a confident organism. First in the animal kingdom and the canine species, and then it kind of was anthropomorphized and taken as a model on how human beings should comport and how they should conduct themselves. Now, first and foremost, look, I'm in a fraternity that has a mascot of a fucking dog, but I know
Hmm.
I'm not a goddamn dog. I'm a human being.
Right, right.
So like
But
I'm going to conduct myself in a way that's different, not all the way different, because there is some kind of synergy and some sort of connectivity between us and other species. And there's a reason why. I mean, human beings and canines have, come to become, like symbiotic in terms of a relationship with one another. But
but do you think that the way Western society is set up, in that it has most people acting out their base instincts, do you think that could, since people are acting out by their base instincts today in mass, could it still be some kind of connection to the animal instincts?
I
If
don't think
if,
that
if
necessarily.
I didn't say that right, but
Yeah, yeah.
go
So,
ahead.
so human beings are animals after all. It's not like and not to say that like we act like dumb brutes. I mean, although we do that as well. But what I'm saying, because we do have the power to ratiocinate, which other animals, and
Right, right.
we have a development. We've developed a form of communication where we can accumulate information in ways that other animals can't. Like they have to use instinct in order to, like use their minds. But like human, and not to say that human beings don't also use instincts, but we have collective learning over generations, whereas animals don't have that.
Do you see that really playing out in the world today, where people are actually using their reason capability, their capabilities to be rational?
Well, this is one thing as a philosopher, I tell people every day. Well, I don't tell them every day, but I would tell them if the question was posed. The way people think can be a matter of habit just as much as any other habit can, whether it's physical or emotional.
Right.
The way you think can become habitualized.
Right.
Like, I mean, your thought processes can become habit, or be the result of a habit formation.
Does that fall like a group think?
It could be group think. It could be individual think. It could be, I mean, like say, for example, you get into a habit of thinking that, the earth is flat. I don't know. I mean, or thinking that niggers ain't shit. Like if you're a white person.
Go.
There
you go.
If you're white, you can develop a cognitive habit.
Because your environment is supporting that thought or these thoughts that are or values that you're giving, then that in turn would impact the individual how he sees things because it's being reinforced by his environment.
It could be that way, because the environment and the individual work together to create, like the human experience, like in culture. It's not. Although I would like to argue that the preponderance of momentum kind of weighs with the culture itself as opposed to the individual. But I'm not to say that the individual can't shape and remold culture, because it happens all the time. I mean, it's like always going to happen. Okay, it's the part of the hero's journey.
Like how people don't really check their biases; they actually cultivate them into becoming like patterns of belief.
Exactly.
I think that's possible.
Yes, that's definitely possible. That's what I'm trying to. I guess you said it better than I said it.
No, I couldn't do that.
Yeah, you definitely can. You know what I'm saying? Look, this is the one thing I don't like about alpha talk, right? I think, not to say that I don't want to be assertive and be in control of my life, but I don't like to posit and position myself as somebody who's better than somebody else, predicated only on my education alone, my finances alone, or, like my access to women alone, or my social connections alone, because I believe that all people have innate dignity. That's just my viewpoint, okay? I believe that, like even if I don't agree with somebody, I believe that their opinion should be registered if there's a collective decision-making process on the table. I mean, even if I reject the reasons that you offer, at least I feel like you ought to have the capacity to present your reasons or whatever it is that you got to say. I'm not going to be like, fuck you, I don't want to hear your shit. But after having heard your shit, if I think it's some garbage, I'm going to tell you. But like thinking that I'm in a position that's above having to, take up what you have to say, to me is like arrogant as fuck. Like, I mean, I've heard people even in this space. Look, man, I could be on some high horse shit, bro, just based off my education alone. I could be on some high horse shit just, in terms of how tall I am or some shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, I heard
a quote today. I'm sorry, but I heard a quote today from an audiobook I was listening to by Washington. It just slipped my mind. But I think the title of the audiobook was Building Character. You know who I might be speaking of?
No, I don't know the book.
The person that started the Tuskegee Institute.
Yeah, I can't. Yeah, I don't.
Well, anyway,
so I don't
he,
know.
he had a quote in this audiobook. It'll come to me in a minute. He had a quote in the audiobook that's saying that the education is to make you search for the truth. To be educated, you have to find the truth. And once you find that truth through education, it should make you humble. And that's what you was just speaking on.
Are you talking
And that's
about
a
Booker
good
T.
thing.
Washington? Yeah,
Booker T. Washington, you got
yeah,
it
Booker T.
exactly right.
Washington.
It just
Yeah,
slipped my mind. Age is getting me.
yeah.
But
George
that quote
Washington
was pretty
Carver.
powerful. Yeah, yeah,
Now look,
yeah.
I think the education, the general education that people are supposed to receive in the United States, like primary and secondary education, is supposed to give you the potential to learn more. But like, that's on you. Like, learning is something that you're responsible for. Even if you're in a program at a school, I mean, they might, say that you have to understand a certain set of, principles before you can matriculate through their school or whatever. But I mean, like at the end of the day, it's one thing to memorize some shit and then forget it. It's another thing to learn something and to make it part of your character. You know what I'm saying? But I mean, the only thing I can say is this, bro. Look, some people who consider themselves to be alpha, I don't think they're alpha at all. I just think, like they're just arrogant
You're
and
right.
brash, like, and they think that they're like that nigga, but they ain't really that nigga.
They're posh.
Yeah, they probably looked into the other personality types like Gamma and Delta and didn't like what the characteristics of those certain personality types were. So they want to call themselves alpha to be part of a group or to fit in with the group. That's an extrovert thing.
If you gotta call yourself an alpha or make reference to yourself as being that nigga, I don't really believe you that nigga.
No,
because
no, you shouldn't have to say it.
I know this is kind of crass for me to say this, but like Lil Weezy said, nigga, real G's move in silence, man, motherfucker. You that nigga,
That's
you
true.
ain't got to let everybody know you that nigga.
Yeah, that's the truth.
If you the boss if you the boss of the company, you ain't got to go in saying I'm the boss of the company. Motherfuckers gonna know you the boss by how you
being all
comport.
dramatic and shit.
Yeah, you ain't got to go in telling everybody you the boss. They gonna know you the boss. They gonna respect you as if you are the boss because you have the qualities requisite to being acknowledged as being a boss. But like when you go in and I'm that boss. I don't believe. That's just my viewpoint on it, man. That's how I
me
perceive
being
it.
a Sigma, I never liked that anyway. I knew you was getting ready to get off here, but
Hold on, you mean like a Sigma in terms of a Sigma male or a Sigma in terms of Phi Beta Sigma?
Oh, Sigma male. The Sigma male personality type.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
So, like to some degree, I'm a loner myself. I guess that's what a Sigma is, like a person who beats to their own drum, who's not like somebody who just loves to follow up. Look, I'm an only child, man, so I had to spend a lot of time, man, entertaining myself, man.
I know that feeling.
And, primarily it was through books, games, and, the cultivation of, like, talents. Like, I learned how to play instruments and shit like that. Like, it was just something to focus my energy and my effort into. I was always a hyper kid, like, when I was young, too. You know what I'm saying? Sports and shit like that was something, played football, you know what I'm saying? Played baseball, but it was too boring for me. You had to stand around too long. I ain't like that.
In the heat.
Waiting for shit to happen. Like, I was like, man, my energy was elsewhere. So, but my viewpoint, the reason I said conflict and like how often do you see it is because, like, I mean, there might be low level conflict going on, but like people mostly are cooperative or assume the role of engaging in cooperation more so than they do like engage in outright war. Like even in a prison, even in a prison, motherfuckers are mostly like staying out each other's way.
Yeah.
That's a coordination of activities so that you don't piss other people off, so that it spills over into violence. But I mean, not to say that violence doesn't occur, but cooperation is the default position, not war.
Yeah,
now, being ready for war is a whole nother matter altogether.
Right. In this society, it seems to me like there's a lot of cooperation as long as it's self-beneficial, not necessarily mutually beneficial, because most people are just looking out for their own, only for the things that they desire in life, for their own benefit. Like how people go around nowadays talking about, you got to respect me. You got to respect me. Now, it's one thing to be respectful socially, as all people should do. but it's another thing to kiss your ass whenever you feel like you want it kissed. And a lot of people talking about respect nowadays. That's what they actually talking about.
Hey
So
man, look,
it's not
you got to give respect to receive respect.
right. And
That's how
first
I
off, you got
perceive
to
it, man.
respect yourself. You got to be able to respect yourself to give respect. And a lot of people really ain't got there yet, or they don't understand that basic principle. Respect yourself first.
Man, this shit been like
Then,
enshrined into moral law, man, since Christianity has been on the scene, or Buddhism, man. Treat other people how
yeah,
you want to be treated, man. You don't want to be slapped in the face, don't slap motherfuckers in the face. You don't want to be cursed out, don't curse people out. You don't want to be called a bitch ass nigga, don't call people bitch ass niggas.
yeah, and
You know
that's
what
in
I'm saying?
everything
Like,
that you do.
if you want to be treated like you cool, treat people cool. If you don't want people to go around saying foul shit about you, don't say foul shit about people. Be
Behind
cool.
their back or in their face.
Look,
You know, you know.
I will talk about somebody who's out of line and I feel like they need to be reprimanded, or an invective or a diatribe needs to be issued. But like, I'm not gonna go out of my way, especially if like I'm not antagonized. I'm not gonna fuck with nobody, man. I might talk about their
Right.
ideas, but that's a whole different matter altogether than just, going after somebody's throat. But if you
Yeah,
coming
that's
at me,
debate.
yeah, if you
That's
coming at me,
debate.
man, like that's a whole different matter altogether. But before I let Kevin speak, I want to give out a round of applause and some acknowledgement to this brother, Mississippi Delta guy, man, who hit me with that generous donation. Appreciate you, bro. Appreciate that, man. Straight up, can't even lie. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, the lone wolf can accept death alone. That's the thing about the Sigma personality. You can accept the death alone.
Yeah, man. Hey, look, I'm 52, man. I done lived. You know what I'm saying? I had a great life. If I die tomorrow, shit, I had a good one.
With a smile on your face, huh?
I had a good one, boy. I ain't gonna
Right
lie.
on. Right
I
on.
ain't mad. Kevin Kev, what you got to talk? Kick the Willie Bobo, man. What you got for us, man? What actual factuals do you have for us?
Yeah, man, not much, man. Just getting back in from the gym. But basically, what I think when people talk about the leadership qualities, I think, as you're pointing out, Green Gorilla, it's not so much about dominance. More so, it's about a combination of dominance and collaboration. So it's not just, oh, I'm the leader, you should just listen to me and just bark out orders. It's more so, knowing when and where to kind of tell people what to do, and knowing when and where to be like, all right, cool, let's work together. You know what I mean? I think the Funky Academic, a shout out to him, he had a video when he talks about like ball watchers, where he kind of mentioned in the video where, okay, a good way of being able to collaborate with other people, like say for example, if you're playing soccer, is instead of just simply saying, okay, tell somebody to do something, when you're out there on the soccer field, you'll say something like, say, okay, I'll guard him, you guard him. Ability, you know what I mean? People are more likely to listen to you than if you're just kind of just talking down on them and say, you should just listen to me just because it just comes off as just you're throwing your weight around, you know what I mean? Like,
Right.
or if you've ever seen somebody like like if you guys that are NFL fans, have you ever seen like somebody like Michael Strahan or Ray Lewis give a speech, man? Like, bro, they be hyped up, man. They be motivated. They be ready to run through a brick wall. I mean, hell, even for those people that watch the Browns, even somebody like Myles Garrett, you look at guys like that, I'm like, the reason why they listen to them is because, they're dominant players, but they're not like, they don't allow their dominance like make them become insufferable. You know what I mean? Like they know how to still work in a team environment. I think that's the point that's lost on people, where it's like
Right.
they want to keep trying to prove how dominant they are instead of just simply being it. You know what I mean? Like
Some people are anal retentive, man, and some people got childhood
Right.
issues, man, that have an impact on how they carry on as adults. And the level of competitiveness. Like, I was just watching a video on Michael Jordan the other day, and it was talking about his older brother and how his dad used to say like all kind of ignorant shit to Mike, man. And like, I forget what it was like. It was something to this effect that his father said to Mike. Like, he said, "Mike, go give me the wrench," and he brought back something that didn't look like one. He was like, "Boy, you ain't gonna be shit. Go fuck with your mama." Then I want you to think about like how you talking to a kid, how that's gonna make the kid feel. You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, it's one thing to talk to an adult, talk shit to him, But it's another thing. You could tell that his daddy used to say all kind of ignorant shit to his kids. You know what I'm saying? If his daddy probably did it to him, though. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, but
yeah, exactly. Yeah, basically, it's like it's one thing to be kind of like, how can I put this? It's one thing to be strict and like, you know what I mean, be willing to enforce order. It's just another thing to become, ironically, I don't know. Ironically, Jason Black said this, even though he's kind of become it when he talked about these quote unquote old honorary niggas. You know what I mean? Like, it's one thing to be honorary. It's another thing to actually like enforce some type of discipline. You know what I mean? And preach the importance of discipline and show the importance of discipline. You know what I mean?
Right,
so
right.
Like guys expect you to be yelled at if you're being constructive along with it. But if you're just yelling at them, both, they're gonna shut down and say, "Man, get out of my face, dog." You know what I mean?
But look, check this out. I want to share this so you can see it, so you can understand. Like, let me see. Do you see that? Can you see that? So check it out.
They were so competitive between the two of them. Matter of fact, at that time, it might be said that Larry was the best basketball player.
I always felt like I was fighting Larry for my father's attention.
So I could take Larry out, and he was fascinated by fixing things with his hand, took a lot of pride in it. And Michael would be out, you'd say, give me a Phillips screwdriver, he might give you a pair of pliers, you know. I'd say, get back in the house with your mom. Boy, you're never gonna be anything, just go back with your mom.
You know, I want that approval. I want that type of confidence. So my determination got even greater to be as good, if not better, than my brother.
They were so competitive between the two of them.
So, you know, like, this is a guy fighting for his father's love. You know what I'm saying? This motherfucker, like, playing basketball, like, trying to, you know, capture an emotion that, you know, like, was sparked by, like, being disrespected by his daddy or some shit, man. That's crazy.
Yeah, that was a sad testimony, but at least it was in Mike to stretch out beyond that and use that as drive to make him better. You know, in today's world,
look, it's dope.
Today's world, that'd have killed a lot. That would have killed the confidence of most boys. You know, but you know, at least he strove above it and became better. And you know, there's a lesson in that. It really is. There's a lesson in that adversity.
I'm glad he rose to the occasion. You know what I'm saying? I enjoyed watching the Bulls, man, back in the day. Shit.
Yeah, no doubt.
That was some shit to see. You know what I'm saying? I saw all them championships.
No doubt.
You know what I mean?
I thank you for having me up, GG. I'm going to go ahead and rewind and catch your show.
Okay, man. Thank you, man, for joining, man. Appreciate your contribution.
Yep.
Talk to you.
Everybody enjoy your night.
Yes, sir. You too. May, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
You care to provide us with some information? Do you have a question? You want to make a comment?
Yeah. I should say, first of all, I want to just warn everybody, I'm not trolling because I have a reputation for trolling. I'm not trolling. I'm sincere.
Okay.
Okay. So one of the things you were saying earlier, I was processing it. You were saying that, you know, people shouldn't blame people. And you kind of like contrasted like atrocities that were committed by whole nations. And you contrasted that to personal decisions. And I just wanted to kind of, point that out, that it's a big difference.
Of course, look, there's a difference between micro behavior and macro behavior. But also, I mean, like I said before, I use many examples. It's one thing, look, I understand that people are responsible for doing the best that they can to improve their condition and to, you know, strive for excellence and so on and so forth. This is not a get out of, you know, like responsibility card at all. But what I'm saying is that, like, if I decide, if I say right now, not saying that I am, but if I decided to disrespect you right now and call you out of your name, everything but a child of God, is that my fault or is that your fault? Or am I personally responsible for having violated your dignity, or are you personally responsible for having opened yourself up for the potential for me to violate your dignity? Now, it's one thing if you continue to subject yourself to abuse and not to leave the chat or to leave, you know, the area after I've disrespected you. That's a whole nother thing altogether, because then you're not observing dignity in your own self.
Right,
okay?
Right.
That's a different thing altogether. But first and foremost, let me say this, man. Have you ever been around anybody in a familial situation who's never violated your dignity, it's always been cool as hell, there's been no violations?
I mean, no, there's somehow, somebody in the family usually does something. Yeah, usually.
That's the closest unit that you're going to get to in terms of like natural affiliation or interconnection amongst human beings, where there's kinship bonds, meaning that like in terms of genetic survival, right, or proliferation of your genes being projected forth into futurity, like that's the closest you're going to get to like the people you're going to look out for the most, without no strings attached type shit. You know what I'm saying? Because the strings are genes. Okay. So, shit, brothers fight each other and violate each other's dignity. Now, the question is whether or not they can repair it. Shit, if you're in a relationship with anybody, it's going to be disagreements. They're never going to be perfectly, like pristine and drama or trouble free. Like that's from romantic shit. That shit, it don't happen within the individual.
Yeah, I mean, and that's where it comes to the interpersonal skills. And you guys were talking about different personality types. I would say that the more versatile people are, the more diversity they have in their ability to, navigate different types of personalities, probably the more, a better leader and a better coordinator and, a person who can get people to cooperate. They can just kind of shift and know how to deal with different people. But you're right. I mean, family is where, your first experiences began. And a lot of times that's where a lot of problems start, early in life. Like you said, you can't necessarily pick who you are born to, your parents, their circumstances. But that's where I was going to say that resilience comes in. And I think that that's part of what we have to focus on in life is resilience, like being able to bounce back from bullshit,
Hey, perseverance is, like, man, I'm in a fraternity, perseverance is like one of the cardinal principles. Manhood, scholarship, perseverance, and uplift. You got to persevere through adversity. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes, like one of the poems we refer to is, Langston Hughes' Crystal Stir. Life of me ain't been no crystal stir.
Okay.
You feel me? When you're up against a trouble, meet it squarely face to face. Lift your chin, set your shoulders, plant your feet, and take a brace. When it's vain to try and dodge or do the best that you can do, you may fail, but you may conquer, see it through. It's not like I'm encouraging men to, wallow in self-despair. This is not what this is about. It's not about being happy with, like being in a subordinate position. That's not what this is about. But what it is about, it's about being real about our experiences. It's about being real about ethics, social interaction, who's culpable, but like to reduce all culpability only to the subject or one subject, namely you. And you got to look at everything like it's all your fault. And you got the wrong disposition. This is why things keep, happening to you. Like, there's some truth to every theory about human action and interaction. But I think that viewpoint, like, well, everything is just reducible to your own fault. That's you.
Are you referring?
That's bullshit to me. I don't buy into that. It's bullshit.
Are you referring more so to what Lucas said about men not vetting and probably not picking well? Are you referring to that, or more so just in general about life?
I think it's general about life, but I think it's also important when it comes to the idea or the concept of vetting. And here's why. When you vet somebody, like, I like to, like, okay, so let's use psychology. You ever heard of Johari's window?
No.
Okay, so Johari's window. Johari, okay? The window.
Wait a minute, no, I'm thinking about the cave, not the cave.
That's Plato's cave, the allegory of the cave.
Okay, never mind. Yeah, not that.
So Johari's window is set up like a matrix. You got 4 boxes, right?
Uh-huh.
You got things that are known to self. And then you got things that are known to others. Mm-hmm. You got things that are known to yourself and things that are not known to others. Like, you're not going to tell everybody everything about yourself. So there's a face. There's some things you know about yourself that others know and some things that others don't know. Okay? Mm-hmm. Now you got some things known to others, but it's not known to you.
Okay.
There are some things that other people can see about you and your character that you can't see.
That's true.
This is one of the reasons why it's important. Like the human beings are social animals, and we need each other in order to, like reinforce and to tell to tell us about like what we're failing at, because there are blind spots in everybody. Everybody has a blind spot.
Yeah.
When it comes to
I don't want to get off the subject too much, but as this relates to this idea, what you just said about these different sides of oneself, I think that's why in the past, in traditional cultures, that's why you had groups that chose marriage for people, because people saw different aspects of the bride and people saw different aspects of the groom. They were the family members, the people who knew them best, and that's how they matched people. And those were families that chose the spouse for the other family, and they came together like that. And I think that this modern matchmaking, this self, do it myself, that's not working. It's actually not working. Family,
but it definitely is not working in the culture. I think there are many reasons why it's not working. But that I think that there's an element of truth to what you say there, because like people will tell you, date the woman, marry the family. That's how marriage has always been. It's really always it's primarily, like throughout the entirety of history, it's been an institution where families connect and come together, right?
Yeah.
And families are not always like mononuclear. Sometimes, not to say that all families are extended, but and that there is no precedent for mononuclearity. But I mean, typically when you marry somebody, it's for more reasons than for romantic love. Like all this romantic love shit is some new shit.
That's brand new. A lot of people don't realize that. It's very new.
Okay, no, but I mean, romantic love always existed. Now, don't get it twisted. Like, because like, what do you think eros is? It's romantic love, but there's also higher understandings of what love requires than just being hot and heated in a sexual moment. You know what I'm saying? Like
oh, absolutely.
The 7-year, 8-year itch type shit. That's not real love. That's like erotic love, which is the problem is that there's a lot of shit going wrong in this culture that doesn't contribute to the enhancement of what we have naturally. Like, for example, human beings, when they have sex, create a chemical called oxytocin.
Mm-hmm.
It's what connects people together. But if you like you done fucked about 500 people, shit, the imprint that would occur naturally related to that chemical is not going to have like a substantive impact on the person that you having sex with, because you've superseded, you've overcome the boundaries of the purpose of the chemical reaction in the first place.
That's right, the purpose.
It's like smoking crack all day, every day. Like, that's a bad example because I don't know what that's like. But
Green Gorilla, you understand that you can't sell what needs to be done and what should be done with order. You can't sell that to modern people, and most people are modern people. They don't want to hear that. I hear people say pump and dump and all this kind of stuff, and they talk about body count. This is like the thing that people want to do. And at the same time, they say, oh, I want an orderly society. I want a society where families build and we have women who are respectful to themselves and they don't act like hoes. And you can't have both. And I think that's the thing. People they really don't want to draw a line in the sand. And they don't want to say, I'm going to go traditional. I'm going to go with the earth people. And that's what I'm going to do. They want to like toe the line. And that's the problem I see, particularly in the conversations of the manosphere. People got to go back to tradition. And that means way back. And it's uncomfortable.
Yeah, so, look, this is all I can say. Look, we've had like a whole bunch of conversations about this.
Right.
My viewpoint on it is, I've said this before, I believe that there are other kinds of freedom other than negative liberty. I've always said that. I've been saying that like ever since I've been talking about like the social contract tradition and politics and, how the Western world perceives rights as the ability to set yourself apart. Like you got rights apart from other people, the government, family members, and all kind of things. Like the summum bonum of freedom for a Western person is negative liberty, meaning the right to not be hampered in the pursuit of whatever it is that's going to bring you happiness or hedonism. That's the contemporary concept of freedom. But I think that that's just a bankrupt notion of what freedom actually is. I've been saying that. Okay, I said it, like when I gave the lectures or, had conversations with guys about the social contract tradition. I just think that there's something lost. I think there's the freedom of self-perfection, which is, a certain freedom. Even like the philosopher that does the show, Rami Osei Frimpong, who does the show, it's like there's a certain kind of freedom that comes from developing talents and skills within an organized activity that everybody agrees to. Like, say, for example, soccer. In soccer, to be excellent at it is a beautiful thing if, you develop and acquire the skill and other people can watch you do it and they'll say, oh, that's amazing what he did playing the game. But, like, there's only one person who's free to use their hands.
Okay.
But part of playing soccer is that you don't use your hands. Only one person does. The goalie can. Now, but America, the Americans or like Westerners perceive freedom as just being able to do whatever the fuck they desire.
Right.
And freedom doesn't come, in my viewpoint, freedom, you can argue that the pretext for being able to do, something noble means that you're not like coerced, but like just doing whatever it is you want to do. I don't perceive that as like freedom at all to me. I just think it's another form of slavery, especially if you're enslaved to your passions.
Yeah. I mean, and that's the thing. I have a serious problem with Western culture myself since I was young. I really reject a lot of it. I mean, there's some parts of it that are good. I mean, I'd be lying if I said it wasn't. But like you said, just do any damn thing, any kind of way. And at some point, you just fall into complete total chaos. And then everybody's like, what's wrong? What's wrong? What's happening? And we're trying to fix stuff, but we're too attached to that type of freedom. We're too attached to it. And you have to give up certain amounts of freedom in order for you to have order. And I think Western people just don't want to hear that, I read this book by a Jewish lady, I don't know, 10, 15 years ago, and it's called A Return to Modesty. And I love this book. And she talks about, the importance of women recognizing that they need a covering, that they literally need to protect their womanhood and have self-respect. And that everything is not for everybody to see. You're not public property, right?
Tell Sassy Trucker that shit.
Who is Sassy Trucker?
You know who the Sassy Trucker is?
No, I don't. Who's that?
The woman who recently got caught up into Dubai for screaming in public, and they withheld her passport and told her you can't leave until we figure out like how we gonna punish you for this.
Oh yeah. Well, I travel to Islamic countries quite a bit. And one thing I do know, I'm very aware that there's cultural differences, and I conform to those cultural differences because as a world traveler, I know there's consequences. As a gringo and as a woman, there's consequences to not knowing, what you can and can't do. And the Islamic world is not nothing to play with. If you're not ready to conform to Islamic law, you don't need to go. That's for anybody, men too,
Precisely. So one of the things, that's been happening recently though, is people have been making making excuses for the behavior and then trying to reduce it to misogyny. Look, everybody in the world doesn't have the same kind of value systems, and like the value system that we have, where like you can just act crazy. Like first of all, to name yourself a sassy trucker, and then like you showing your goodies, like the woman has no modesty. I'm just keeping it a buck. And I've always said this.
Most women don't have modesty anymore, though. Most women don't, because they're rewarded for it. I mean, just think about it. There's no reward for a woman who walks around covering her body. There's no reward. The only reward, I mean, for the most part, women who get rewarded and get attention are, and particularly male feedback. They get paid. They get attention. They get, likes and all these other things. It's so many incentives. That society,
yeah, but all attention ain't good attention though.
Stay naked, huh?
All attention ain't good attention.
Oh, I know that.
I know what I'm saying? That's why they say cover up. But I've said this. I'll say it. Women are the safeguarders and the keepers of chastity and reproduction. It's on them. If I'm not saying that men don't play a part in this, because they have their responsibility to bear to some degree related to the predicaments they find themselves in a lot of cases. But my viewpoint on it is, at the end of the day, women are the ultimate safekeepers of chastity and reproduction. You don't have to be a hoe unless you want to be a hoe, or you allow yourself to be a hoe. You know,
That's true,
that's like,
but if you're in a culture that rewards you for doing exactly that, then what, you know what I'm saying? You're gonna sell more albums, you're gonna sell more records, you're gonna get more likes. You got OnlyFans. The nakedness and the provocativeness it's rewarded. Now I'll give you a perfect example. What's opposite? I just came back from Morocco in November, and like I said, I travel to a lot of Muslim countries all the time, and I'm a former Muslim. And one of the things I can tell you for sure that men and women both play their part in keeping this standard up very high. And so if I were to go to Morocco and uncover my hair and dress a certain way, all the men in the society, they would give me a certain look, like I have disgust, like I have disgusted them. They would probably call me names or say something. The women too. You know, there's a cultural norm that has to be established by both male and female, and we just don't have that here. You know, we don't have it.
Hey, can I say something?
go ahead, brother. Go ahead.
Okay, perfect. Just a few things here. In regards to this worship of negative liberty, again, if you read books like Encyclopedia of American Indian Contributions to the World, it's like a book that came out in 2001. They actually point out how many of these ideas of like negative liberty or whatnot were actually cultural norms that came from a lot of like Amerindian tribes. This is why like the Enlightenment period didn't happen until after Europeans had colonized like North America and stuff. But the difference between these traditional tribes and now is that they didn't see negative liberty as separate from familial or tribal duty. They saw it as like one and the same. So basically, to put it this way, yeah, you can do what you want because you've proven yourself to be a responsible adult that cares about your family and the well-being of the tribe. So because of that, because you take on that responsibility, okay, you got the right to vote, travel, receive an inheritance, etc., that type of stuff. You know what I mean? What we've done now is that we've totally divorced negative liberty from duty. You know what I mean? And that's where it's become, like you said, just this chaos. You know?
Yeah, that's a good observation. But so I say there's about three different kinds of freedom, right? Like I said before, I only talked about like the freedom of self-perfection, like which is the ability to develop skills and to exercise those skills. But of course, that's going to require you not to do whatever it is you want to do in terms of your desire, right? Like, so this is an ancient form of virtue, like freedom associated with virtue. Like, and there's a reason like why the ancients thought that, just being able to do whatever it is you want to do is a form of slavery in and of itself. You're a slave to your passions, whether they're emotions or physical desires. You can be a slave to those, right? And like if I'm teaching a course, I'll show people who are like drug addicts or something like that, and I'll use celebrities. Like, look at like Robin Williams, rich man, famous, addicted to drugs. Were they free? Probably not.
No.
Take Whitney Houston for example, or like at one point in time, Lamar Odom, or any person who might have an addiction or something like that, right? But they're wealthy and they're famous, or Kurt Cobain, or Amy Winehouse, or somebody like that, right?
Right.
So anybody who has an addiction is a slave to that addiction, whether it's an emotive, because people can have like addictions to emotions as well. Like people who get angry and they kind of get satiated by drama and histrionics and shit like that. Like histrionics is a big word for motherfuckers that like drama. Like, right. And some people, like have a love affair with anger or being angry, right? Or throwing tantrums and shit like that. Like, or going into a wrath. You know what I'm saying? Some people like get addicted to that. But the question is, if you're addicted to that, that's kind of like that's a form of slavery, right? It becomes a habit that prevents you from being in control and being able to exercise judgment, right? So, but this culture, there's so much, priority placed upon negative liberty because it's a social contract culture. It's predicated upon ideas developed in the Enlightenment and, the age of reason. And not to say, and I do understand how, like the Arabic community, was the safeguarders of philosophy while Europe, kind of slipped into the, the Dark Ages. I'm aware of that. So I am aware of it. Okay. Because we wouldn't have Plato or Aristotle or any of the ancient Greek philosophers without like people from the Arabic, world keeping it alive through commentary and study. Okay, so I'm aware of that. But at the end of the day, all I'm saying is Western thinkers have given too much preeminence to the whole idea of just being able to do what you want, and like they're antagonistic to each other. People like, you can't tell me what to fucking do. Like that's a seed of problem, because people always are going to have like impact on others and their attitudes, because people have a deep-seated need to be recognized by others. Tell me a human being who can live without other people and being acknowledged. And
None.
People want to be respected. They want to be perceived as valuable members of whatever community that they belong to. And when they don't get that, then they feel slighted. So recognition is a part of who we are. But this shit here, man, it's like, man, it's being taken too far, I think, to an abstraction that doesn't really obtain in the real world. So,
how do you push it back, though? How do you push it back? How does any society that goes too far, how do they push it backwards?
Well,
it'll push itself back.
Right. I was actually about to say the second part, Gigi, and I'm with you. You made that you made that commentary. The second part is this, okay? Non-monogamous sex, is not a new concept, okay? The difference between the traditional world and the modern world is that, say for example, right, if for so say for example, like a woman that was, let's just say promiscuous or whatnot, they would have social designations for women like that. So they will be what we would call concubines, so they would be, prostitutes, or they would be like a or say for example, if two women were interested in the same guy, they would be like the second or third wife or whatnot. Like they had structures in place to kind of keep a lot of that chaos and that, like, I guess you could say unchecked hypergamy, you know what I mean, to keep that regulated, okay, which is why a lot of traditional societies have stuff like polygamy or like organized prostitution and whatnot. What happened was that, like what Green Gorilla said, through like negative liberty, a lot of people in Western society went on this whole moral crusade against adult polygamy and adult prostitution, saying, oh my God, it's evil and exploitative and that's old world stuff and blah, 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 blah. And in the quest to kind of get rid of it, we actually ended up creating an environment of casual sex and hookup culture that's ironically even worse than the systems of polygamy and prostitution in older societies. It's kind of like what happened during like the Prohibition era, you know what I mean? Where people were saying, oh, we just ban alcohol, we would make society better. But in reality, when they banned alcohol, crime and corruption just increased and shot through the roof, And unfortunately, when it comes to this, these ideas of like, quote unquote hookup culture, this is the new age prohibition, because a lot of Western societies, in their quest to try to quote unquote stamp out adult prostitution, they've ironically created a hookup culture that's ironically even more chaotic and fucked up than having like a system of brothels and stuff, So, I mean, that's the paradox.
Yeah, so I mean, look, they say the road to hell is paved with good intentions. Like, look, all I can say is this, bro. Sex is something that's always been culturally regulated. It's never been a free for all. Not that I know of. I mean, there's always been regulations related to sex. I mean, all you gotta do is look at like ancient religious traditions, and you can see that they're like. There are regulations and ordinances and rules associated with who can screw who and who can't. Okay, it's not like this, it's a free-for-all, like anything's permitted. It's not, okay? And one of the things that kills me is, like, it's the black people who, who are woke, who kind of like give sanction to, any kind of activity going as it pertains to sex, because white people said so. So, you got the sexual revolution, which kind of like, I guess, ran in tandem with the feminist movement. They weren't connected all the way up to the point where they were both embraced by the 64 Civil Rights Act. But, they at some point, they kind of conjoin with each other, okay? So now, not only do you have, like, this idea that women need to be empowered, but, like, part of their empowerment is just, like, like being able to do whatever they want to sexually. And nobody can do whatever they want to do sexually, man, or any other thing. Like, I mean, to a certain extent, I guess if the rules say that there's a certain, set of activities you can engage in without being punished, that's cool. But I mean, you know, look, man, it's.
I think women are mirroring men. I think that's what's going on. Men have taken the liberty. Like, it mattered that a woman was a virgin, but a lot of people didn't care, or they just assumed a man, you know, his value it wasn't tied to his virginity or his purity. And I think that the sexual revolution just made it to say, well, you know, women, we have the same sexual liberty as men. We are just like men sexually. Whatever we do, our value is not tied to our purity or anything. I think that's really what's going on. And I think a lot of men have embraced that, because a lot of men don't say, "Oh, no, don't give me that booty, girl. Don't do that. Save it. Save it." No, they don't. They say, "Give it to me." They say, "Give it to me."
Well, going back to what Green Gorilla was saying, May. Okay, number one, this idea, and I really hate when a lot of women try to say this. This idea that somehow, you know, men should just stop women from having sex. Like, dudes are just gonna bust down in the door saying, you know, freeze, put the dick down, man, put it down. Like, that's never gonna happen, May. Like, that's never gonna happen. Like, this idea, this whole grandiose, like, macho trad kind of ideal of we need to just man up and forcibly stop these women from sucking random dicks. No, that's
I didn't say that. I didn't say that.
I'm saying that's the implied argument. It's like just like how you as a woman you're not gonna come out and tell a man, hey, stop spending money on me, damn it, I'm not gonna, you know, have sex with you. You're not gonna say it. You're just gonna be like, hey, I don't know why you're spending money on me. I'm not changing my mind here. Just like how you feel about that, that's how guys feel in the opposite way. Like, hey, they're not gonna stop you. But
I just think men are enjoying the sexual freedom, and they're enjoying it. If women locked up their legs today and said, no, I don't want to do this or that without a courtship and a ring and marriage, y'all would lose y'all's mind. Y'all would just go crazy.
No, they wouldn't. They would be like, okay, well, how can I put this?
We already said this. We already established most men ain't fucking no way.
Huh?
Exactly. So yeah,
most men are not fucking. Look, most men, like, it's easier for a woman to have sex than a man. It's that's the truth. It's always been this way.
Thank you for pointing that out, Green Gorilla. Like you said, and again, that's why Green Gorilla was talking about having that blind spot. Okay, a lot of women assume because it's easy for them to have sex with random people, you know, hypothetically speaking, whether they do it or not, they think because it's easy for them that for the guys it works the same way. It's like, no, it's not. For guys, it's like working in sales. Okay. Even for the guys that are quote unquote successful, they're going to face a lot of rejection. So it's just a matter of just when you do get a yes, it's about, you know, basically making those yeses count. But this idea that guys just walk around, you know, these guys, you know, with big muscles, just walk around, just whip their dick out and tell a woman to come and suck it. Like, no, it does not work like that.
I'm not saying it's like that. No.
I'm saying, but that's always like the implied assumption that, oh my God, you know, these men, you know, just, you know, how can I put it? Just, you know, they're just taking advantage of these helpless women, and these women have no.
It's important for people to understand that there are a lot of things that occurred that have made the sexual revolution, especially in the West, be the kind of, or create the kind of phenomena that you contemporarily see. And sometimes, like, technology creates unforeseeable consequences that nobody really actually, you know, would accrue. Predicated upon the instantiation of that technology coming to the fore. But look, okay, so like the birth control pill, plastic prophylactics.
I would think y'all would be having more sex because of the internet, and you have such easy access at the fingertips that there would be more sex happening.
No. Again, blind spot. No.
Okay, where do y'all basing this on? Where these studies at? What studies? What percentages?
It is easier for
I don't believe that.
For a small. No, you don't believe it, but that's the reality. Listen, it's a small percentage of men, okay, who are.
What is it based on, sir? Is all I'm asking. Like, where are you getting this idea from? What is it based on?
You can literally Google how, like, I think they said like 2/3 of men right now are single, or something like that.
That doesn't mean not having sex.
Yeah, but even amongst when it comes to this, they said 2/3 of men are single, and like I think like 30 to 35% of men are like virgins nowadays, and like a bunch of like I think a higher percentage of men like don't have sex consistently. Again, what happens is that again it's the apex fallacy. Okay, you think because it was easier for a small percentage of men who are already considered desirable in the first place, you think because it's easier for that small percentage of men, it's easier for them to get laid. You think that that works for all men, and it doesn't. I mean, you can literally look at the online dating statistics. Like most guys, again, it's dry. Their phones are dry. It's not happening. This fantasy you have in your mind, May.
No,
Again,
I'm not having a fantasy.
that
I'm
these
just
guys
asking
are
you for
just, you
the.
know what I mean,
I don't have a fantasy. I'm just
have
asking you where's
these
the data.
opportunities to have sex left and right. I'm like, it doesn't exist.
I don't have
And like
I don't
with
have
the
a
guy,
fantasy. I'm just asking you where's the data though for that most men are not having sex. Where's that?
okay, well,
I'm on
again, you
Google.
can,
Like
yeah,
what's the
you can literally Google it. You can literally Google it. Talk about how like 67%
is it an
of men are
article like in a
single.
magazine or what kind of just tell me is it a
Yeah,
scholarly
yeah, yeah, yeah,
article?
yeah. I'm trying to think. I can't think off the top of my head, but you can literally just go Google it.
I don't
I
like
mean, hell,
Google. I
even
like scholarly stuff where it's like a real study that you
yes,
have.
you can use the Google and just say 60% of men, over 60% of men are single, and literally it's going to be one of the first results popping up. I mean, you know how to use a computer, May, right? Like I don't
No.
have
I'm
to
asking
spell
you
everything.
what kind of level of scholarliness is it? That's what I'm asking. Does it have sources? Is it like peer reviewed? Like what journal is it? Like the journal Psychology? Where does this come from? Is what I'm asking.
Look, this is just common sense. I want you to think about this.
I
Take a
ain't going
woman.
with common sense.
I just want you to think about this. As a man, I have to go out and initiate encounters with women who are more or less going to either approve or disapprove of my ability to court them and to entertain them with whatever it is I'm trying to get out of them, whether it's social, physical, whatever the case may be, labor or whatever it is, right? So you do agree that like men are the ones who have to initiate these encounters in order to try to gain the confidence of women so that they can have sex, correct? More often than not, right?
Well, that's an assumption that men want sex more than women. I think there's an assumption in there.
I haven't even gone there with this. I'm saying that in this culture, who initiates encounters, men or women, in order to link up in any significant kind of way romantically? Who's responsible for it? Men or women?
I'm guessing women. I mean, men. I'm guessing men.
Let's come on. We look. I know you don't want to be drawn into like arguments or admitting things based on the Socratic method. But like, look, at the end of the day, I know that if I go out and talk to 10 women, I'm not gonna have the availability to fuck all 10 of them. Because it's just more difficult for a man to gain access and the willing consent to have sex than it is for a woman. Like if a woman says, hey dude, you wanna fuck right now? And she halfway decent, the dude more than likely is gonna be like, I mean, if he talks, I'm saying if a man goes up to 10 women and tries to initiate sexual encounters, right? And a woman does the same, I guarantee you, 9 times out of 10, the woman is gonna have more success in initiating one night stands than a man is. Okay? Now, and we're not just talking about specific kinds of men, like men who have a lot of money and fame and they look a certain kind of way, they're gonna have more sexual availability than men who are like kind of dorky and, the body types or the phenotype is not very attractive or whatever, okay? But the point I'm making is in terms of like, it ain't too many dudes is gonna die because they don't have access to sex a lot. Like they'll just hit something like anything moving type shit. Now, I mean, I myself personally am not like this, but like I know a lot of guys who will fuck anything moving. Oh, yeah. I'll smash that. I'll smash it.
Yeah, and I think that's why there's so much focus on Keisha, because Keisha's probably gonna be quicker to do it than most women, and I think that's my theory. I think that's why there's always this Keisha this, Keisha that, and always talk about the girls with the weave and the and I'm like, who are these girls? But maybe those are the ones that are most likely to get down and do things faster, and that's why there's a focus on that type of shit.
How can I put it to you like this, mate? You could make an argument, especially when it comes to a lot of brothers. You could definitely make an argument that that's like an Achilles heel with a lot of brothers, where it's like a lot of brothers basically they have like lower standards when it comes to the opposite sex, and even some dudes who would try to shame and guilt other dudes into reinforcing those low standards. And I can definitely see what you're saying in regards to that. But in regards to like the environment, again, and you can read books like the Dating Divide by Jennifer Lundquist. Again, like when it comes to these brothers, I'm like, they're at a disadvantage. Okay, they're at a cultural disadvantage. They're playing the dating game on all Madden difficulty. Okay, essentially, you think because you are not playing the you're not you think because a small percentage of men are able to have success in spite of that oh yeah these guys are just these guys just have all these these plethora of opportunities, and I'm like no, like I said before, it's like working in sales, okay? And as the one brother in the chat, and you can go scroll up and look at it, Green Gorilla, where he said like even for the quote unquote pickup artists, they only have a close rate of like 10%. Like literally, like if you as a if like an average man, can have say 5% of the women he's ever spoken to, that's like mind blowing levels of success. Like if you get 2 matches in a week, 2 or 3 matches in a week, that's like, oh my God, like you're like the MVP. Whereas if you're a woman, if you only got 2 matches in a week, you'd be like, damn, I'm ugly, man. Nobody wants me. You know what I mean? Like
So you're talking about on the internet. On the internet.
I'm saying even in real life. Like if only a small handful of dudes found you sexually attractive, you would be like, damn, like I'm fucking ugly, Whereas
Right.
for guys, it's like, if it's like if you can say, for example, get like say 3 women to like want to have sex with you, as a guy, you're like, fucking yeah, that's a fucking victory. Like hell yeah, let's fucking go. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
but again, it's unfortunately a lot of these arguments are had in bad faith because again, a lot of women project their assumptions or they try to project their penis envy out onto other people,
Penis envy.
especially the men. Yes, penis envy. Yes, penis envy, where like they become jealous of like the small percentage of men that are like womanizers, and they just assume that's like how all men get down. I'm like, no, like hell the fuck no.
So let me point out some shit. So she wanted to see some evidence to some
I just
degree.
pulled up something too. Go ahead.
So look, it's a common belief that men are more into casual sex than women. This time, unlike many other beliefs, science also supports the common belief. And what it means is that look, 70% of men are going to agree to sleep with a stranger who shows interest in them. They down to fuck. Men are down to fuck whoever. 70%. You think women are going to be down to fuck 70% of the men that come to them?
No.
No.
Exactly.
So
that's the point we're driving home.
So the point we're trying to make is this: women have more. Women are the safekeepers of chastity and reproduction. Bottom line, men want it because they want. I mean, it's built into our genetic code to want to have children, okay, or to be able to plant our genetic material into women such that at some point. One of a replica of our DNA could persist throughout space and time. Okay, women have a different set of mating strategies than men. It's not about the quantity of spreading the seed around. It's about because there's more investment related to reproduction for them than it is for men. Okay, women are going to be screening for the best DNA they can get.
Yeah,
supposedly, right? I mean, they're going to be looking for the person who. Whatever, I mean, it could be, like some bullshit that, that they think is, going to enhance their children's fitness. But I mean,
one of my favorite videos.
They're going to be looking for, they're going to be more selective than men. Men are going to be less selective. Okay.
Right. One of my favorite videos, I just want to tell you real quick. One of my favorite videos by Jordan Peterson is he talks about women are picky, and it's very short, and he explains why. And he said what you just said is what he said. That women have the burden of, being a mother and all the different things that come with that, the socioeconomic, the survival of the child. Women are supposed to be picky. So what's wrong with that?
What we're saying is,
it's not the fact that they're picky. It's the fact that a lot of women are being picky about superficial stuff. Like nobody's saying that it's wrong for a woman. Nobody's trying to guilt trip a woman for like liking a guy because he's tall or muscular. Or because he's like well groomed, or he has bass in his voice, he has a lot of status, etc. That's not the problem. What you're saying is that, especially out of the space, is that these women are picking men for completely superficial reasons, and then they're trying to blame all the negative consequences on the men. That's the problem. Like again, you going back to what you're saying, May. Again, if you like a guy because say for example, he's charming and he's handsome and he's muscular, and he treats you with kindness and respect. I'm like, that's like cool. That makes sense. He sounds like a pretty solid guy. But if you're like picking him because he's like he's handsome and charming, etc., and you're ignoring his massive character flaws, or he has massive character flaws that are like almost irredeemable, then that's when it becomes a problem. So again, it's not the being picky part. It's being excessively picky, and it's being superficially picky. But it's not being picky in and of itself. Yeah, like women being picky about sex, that's like normal. That's like the default setting.
So where does sex need to happen in children and reproduction? Y'all tell me, what institution does it need to happen in, or is it just random and chaos? Like which one?
I mean,
what are you talking about?
In the black manosphere, guys.
When we're talking about
in the black manosphere, many guys are basically saying the following.
Okay.
We have a culture that pushes black men to the periphery. And this is something that black women want because it gives them a certain amount of power and control over a social institution, and they can do whatever the fuck they want according to the dictates of negative liberty, which you already corroborated.
Yeah.
Okay? And what we're also saying is that this set of social conditions have a legacy or are connected to the legacy of slavery. Okay, and tomorrow I'm gonna be on air with Dr. Johnson. We're gonna go over this shit. Okay, we're gonna talk about how black culture is an extension of concubine culture. It's just a fact. People might not like it.
I'm asking: is there any place? Is sex and reproduction supposed to happen? Let me just be direct. Is it supposed to happen in marriage for us people who are civilized? Is it or not?
It should, but it's not. It's not happening.
Because we are choosing to do something different.
Yes and no.
And we're passing laws, and we're passing laws and social norms that disincentivize those things from happening as well. So you also got to remember, incentives influence behavior. So
laws influence behavior, cultural norms influence behavior, social movements influence behavior, technology influences behavior, economics influences behavior. Institutions, judicial, bureaucratic institutions influence behavior. Okay, there's a whole constellation of catalysts for the kind of predicament that we find ourselves in. I mean, it's what we like to do is reduce everything to subjective or common or folk wisdom. That's what we like to do. Everything is just a matter of choice. We chose this. It's a lot going on in the background that creates the conditions that persist, or the conditions that obtain right now.
I totally see that, but I also look at the Jewish community. The Jewish community is right here in America. They're dealing with the same stuff we're dealing with. I love to use the Jewish community for certain reasons, because they managed to resist all this crazy stuff. They don't allow themselves to be affected.
The Jews weren't chattel slaves in the United States.
Say what now?
The Jews were never chattel slaves in the United States.
That's true.
They didn't have a functioning patriarchy.
It's funny that you mentioned that, May, because even Dr. Thunders talked about how even though some elements of a Jewish culture is technically matriarchal, the difference between their culture and our culture is that, number one, the mothers invest in the boys like heavily, okay, and they make sure they know how to read, write, and count, okay. So that way, regardless of the social economic spectrum they fall under, you always have that base level of knowledge. There's always a base level of care and attention that's given.
That's a good point. Very good point.
So yeah,
but black women turn their boys into surrogate husbands and shit.
Exactly. Or unfortunately, as people like Tito has pointed out, a lot of so-called black women see their children as chattel. Where it's like they want to have custody of the children, not because they care about the children, but because they use the children as leverage.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I will say, look, I'm not going to go so far as to say that all women are like that. But I'm saying, though, like, let's be frank about it, though. There are incentives for women to pump out fucking babies, especially in the black community. It's always been the case that black women were rewarded for having children.
Yeah, it's a lot of reward for a lot of, I mean, that's the problem with I would just call it chaos and Satanism. That's the problem with it. Everybody gets incentives to do the thing that's not orderly, and there's incentives everywhere for
But
everybody.
it's not. It was orderly for white people to have us like this. This is order for them. This is order for them. Like, I want you to think about it. Black women were rewarded during slavery for having fucking little nigglets. Now, I know that sounds ignorant for me to say, but I'm saying it for rhetorical effect. And why would they be rewarded per chance?
They're adding to the workers.
They're creating an asset for their masters.
Right.
Bottom line. So they're incentivized to have children, and they get rewarded for it. Not in holy matrimony, not in a patriarchal or like a nuclear family where like there is order and there's a structure, or there's like, you know, like some semblance of normalcy. This is a fucking authoritarian regime where your life is under the control of somebody else. You're dominated. It just is what it is. And so the woman is the center of the family, not the male. He exists on the periphery of black culture during slavery. Now, I'm sure, like, look, we already know that in the 40s, you know, like black people were more married than white folks, okay? But the relationship between black men and women has always been tenuous because it didn't develop naturally. It was always developed with, you know, like the sword of Damocles, if you know that reference. It's like there's always been a guillotine or like a sword or some sort of cataclysm waiting to happen between black men and women. It's always been like a dagger dangling over their heads. If you make a wrong move, the dagger's gonna fall and murk you, kill you. It's always been external force impacting the natural evolution and development of black people's relationships.
That's what I was gonna say. What does it look like? What does it look like? I mean, I don't think any of us know. For an African American, an experimental human being, that's what we are. We're experimental human beings in a sense because we're grafted and selectively bred people. Nobody else on the earth exists like us. We're different.
Yeah, I mean, they existed in Brazil. They existed in fucking Mexico.
Slavery, what will we look like though? Are we an imitation of white patriarchy, or are we going back to some kind of African council and communalism?
Whoa.
Like, what does that look like? What is the normal, natural instincts for a black man and a black woman who's ADOS that comes from slavery? I mean, is there any norm? Are we imitators of whiteness?
Well, again, this is going back to what I'm saying before. Is like, listen, how can I put this? A lot of us, due to familiarity, are clinging to a lot of cultural norms to actually go against our natural form of socialization. How could I put it to this? Going back to what Green Girl was talking about psychology, there's this thing in psychology called the women are wonderful effect, okay, where basically men are born with a natural inclination to be, to a certain extent, to be protective or cooperative or amicable towards women. The problem is that as a form of social engineering or whatnot, that sentiment has been weaponized against so-called black women as a weapon to push them to the peripheral in the society. And going back to what Green Gorilla said, is that basically this idea of like female supremacy, or that you know the only thing that matters is how the woman feels and fuck how everybody else thinks. That sentiment, like what Green Gorilla said, that sentiment comes from slavery. That's not a naturally occurring. It's normal to be considerate, which is why a lot of like pre-colonial societies had women, both in the Americas and Africa and Pacific Islands, etc., where they had women. They had it to where women could be involved as far as in voting and receiving inheritance and stuff like that. That's normal. The problem is that we hyper-emphasize their input, not as a way of quote unquote empowering them, but as a way of basically spiting and sabotaging the men. And that method of spiting and sabotaging the men is what's been used historically as a weapon to keep us in a perpetual state of dysfunction.
I think we get all the things that are gone wrong under slavery, but what I'm saying, if we were to clean the slate and say, okay, we started with slavery, a lot of things institutionalized, but what is it actually supposed to look like for us? I'm saying, what would be the model?
One thing for certain, this is what I know for sure. It would be perceiving the male as an integral part of family life and not just Tyrone. Who you can call, nigga, otherwise I don't need you, nigga.
So there's a solution right there. There's an undoing. And
It's undoing pushing men to the periphery of family life. But again, I've already stated there's going to be issues related to this for reasons that have nothing to do with Like, I mean, you know, like they have nothing to do with slavery, okay? Like, for example, I've talked about this, and I'm going to have to close out in about 5-10 minutes. There's something called, let me leave a link in just in case. Maybe some people do want to talk a little more. Maybe I'll leave it open for 30 more minutes. But something called the 10 Years of Abolitions Act. Have you ever heard of it?
No.
Okay. The 10 Years Abolition Act had a small clause built into it. And essentially that clause had to do with fathers being able to appoint testamentary guardians to their children to dispose of how their children are going to be, reared and educated and acculturated in their absence. Whether they were, going somewhere like exploring or whether they died or whatever the case may be. But it's opened up It opened up a pathway, okay? So presumably, I just want to make sure that I'm not inaccurate when I say this, okay? Presumably, it was supposed to give fathers more power, but what it ended up doing was it ended up handing over power to the judiciary, okay? The judiciary was already setting a precedent for being able to monitor and to oversee what was going on in the stewardship of children by means of having stewardship over people fulfilling their contractual obligations related to same kind of oversight and supervision got applied to fathers themselves. Okay, so it took away the empire of the father and supplanted it with the empire of the judiciary. Okay, that's a significant cultural artifact of the 10 Years Abolitions Act. And very few, if any, people really actually acknowledge it, but it's important to understand.
Can you say what year that is? Because I'm not familiar with
1660.
Whoa, that's a long. Okay.
So we're talking about something that had something that has been in the making for like I don't know how many years. Okay, so over time, this initial involvement of the courts in custody matters via the supervision of testamentary guardians gave the judiciary experience and jurisprudence in matters of child custody, and this led to an increasing role for the courts in child custody matters. By the time the Custody of Infants Act was passed, which is 1839, right? The courts had already established a precedent to intervene in child custody, which laid the groundwork for them to enforce maternal rights, okay, as well. So it can be argued that the 1660 10 Years Abolition Act, while it was ostensibly supposed to be empowering fathers, right, indirectly set in motion a trend towards increasing judicial intervention, and this eroded the unchallenged authority of fathers previously held in child custody matters. It was the father who was able it was the father who was naturally assumed to be the steward of children, not mothers, okay? So we moved away from the empire of the father to the empire of the judge. The judge, the fucking court system, the family court system in America determines who gets custody. And there's a principle called the tender years doctrine. Have you ever heard of that?
No, but one of the things that's coming to my mind as you're talking about this is I'm seeing several things that I've heard also, and I just want to interweave that into what you're saying. We got a cultural problem, period. I think there's a cultural problem. Why are people having children? Under what circumstances are people having children? Is it in marriage? Is it chaos? Like, what are people doing? Start out with that, first of all, because people are having children without thinking about it. They don't have any purpose behind it. They're having children on accident. So there's a lot of problems right there.
But there are a lot of women who are having children purposefully, but they're having children purposefully without any like idea that they need a daddy around to raise the kid. Like, look at this shit. I'm gonna show it to you.
That's what I'm saying. I think men have.
Raise your hand if you're married.
Men are gonna have to.
Can you hear
And
this?
if you're married. Raise your hand if you would like to be married to your baby's father.
I saw that.
Can you hear it?
Yes.
One. The rest of you who don't plan to get married, why don't you plan to get married? I'd like to know that.
You already have your child to think about, and then a whole family to care for. You know, it's a lot of responsibility. And then you don't want the commitments.
I wouldn't want no man holding me down because I think I can make it as a single parent.
But don't you think you might need help in raising that baby from a man?
Not really. I didn't have a father. My father wasn't in the home, so, you know, it really, male figures not substantially important in the family.
There you have it.
I'm never gonna break my stride.
Yeah,
You're
that's
never
a
gonna
culture.
hold me
No,
down.
the only
Like, that's
thing
pretty
I'm
much what
saying
you're
is, look, I'm telling you, it's men. I've always said this. It takes two to tango. It takes two to reproduce. It takes a man, a woman, and that's what gives birth to a child. Just like, you know, like we were talking, BGS was talking about this esoterically today in reference to creation itself. Okay. Now, my whole vibration is this. It's true. It is true that men are responsible for having children. Okay. They're responsible for who they fuck. They can wear a condom. They don't have to reproduce if they don't want to. They can either abstain or they could, you know, potentially, you know, wrap it up and not give birth to a child. You know, like all that old dirty bastard, I like it raw shit, cut it out. Okay. So you're part of the problem. But here's the issue. My viewpoint on it is women are the guardians of chastity and reproduction. The buck stops with them. They can determine if one is born or not. They can determine if they're on birth control or not. They can determine who becomes a father and who not.
That's absolutely true. That's absolutely true. But
they
at the
can
same
make
time,
so my viewpoint on this is
men
it
have
takes two to-
responsibility too.
My thing is whoever has the last say bears the most responsibility. Whoever has the choice bears the responsibility for making the choice. Now, I'm not saying that men don't bear a responsibility for fucking. They do. Okay? It's irresponsible to have sex with some miscellaneous chick.
But this is why they came up with child support as a result of men thinking that it's a woman's responsibility. They started saying, well, we'll help make sure that you put your responsibility
And that's
into the mix. That's how that happened.
And that is the start of a whole bunch of shit that they set in motion that led to the kind of conditions that you have now. Because ultimately what you're doing is you're sanctioning the very behavior that you're trying to prohibit.
Yeah, I think that's what I'm saying. I think that you know, it kind of does need to be a return to modesty, a return to traditional relationships where sex and children happen within marriage. And the fact that people are very committed to westernized chaos is gonna just be like this. It's not gonna change. And I agree that a lot of the stuff that is out here, let me just say this, let me finish. A lot of the things that are out here have been weaponized and they're gonna get worse. And I just want to say this. I have been looking at some information and it's showing that the Republican Party, particularly, now that we have these strict abortion rights, particularly in the South, most of the legislatures in the South are coming up with this new legislation that is saying that from the moment there's a first pregnancy test that's positive, that men will be held responsible. So the neck of men is about to be choked. Those who say, oh, it's her fault, it's her responsibility, and it's not about me making sure my sperm doesn't get in her, those men are going to end up with a serious choke on the neck. They're saying they want men from day one to start paying for prenatal, all the medical, the pregnancy, married or not. That's what's going to happen. Well, it's pretty much for those who are unmarried. That's pretty much what these laws are written for. That's coming down. It's going to happen. So I would just suggest that men be aware that these laws are coming down, and it's going to be worse than anything that y'all have ever seen before.
Well, again,
but you know what? But the argument for black men in this space is going to be, we ain't getting y'all pregnant no way. It's only a small amount of men getting black women pregnant, and they're going to be the ones that have to deal with all of these motherfucking resource issues. But you know what? These niggas ain't got no goddamn resources no way. So at the end of the day, you trying to squeeze blood out of a turnip. It is what it is. So I mean, white people can play this game if they want to, but at the end of the day, every fucking subsequent move that they've made. Here's my viewpoint on this. I'm just gonna keep it a buck with you, just to let you know.
Okay.
White men had an opportunity to do right by black people after the Civil War, and they didn't fucking do it. They had Reconstruction. They could have just said, okay, we're going to give you niggas 40 acres and a mule and leave you about your business. Black people, even though they didn't get 40 acres nor did they receive mules, they still were able to pull themselves up by their so-called bootstraps in towns like Rosewood. Okay? And other, like black towns where, black people were industrious and enterprising. They were able to build burgeoning communities. Guess what white people did? They fucking started riots and burnt the motherfuckers down and destroyed them. Because they couldn't stand to see niggas functioning, flourishing, and thriving. Couldn't fucking stand to see it. Okay? So they had an opportunity at that point. But white women, guess what they did? They fucking intervened and said, give it to us first. How dare you give niggers the right to have anything while your wives and daughters don't have it? And these bitches, you already had the world anyway. Right. You own slaves. You was able to do whatever the fuck you wanted to do. But
Miss Ann is winning.
Wait a minute.
Miss Ann
they've been winning. They've been winning.
Yeah.
Secondly, during the Civil Rights Act, they had an opportunity. Well, actually, during the New Deal, I take that back. During the New Deal in the 30s, the earlier part of the 20th century, they had the capacity and the ability to interpolate black people into the New Deal. They could have done it with ease, okay? But they did not do it, okay? What they did was they left us out. And the South was dead set on excluding blacks from the New Deal. In fact, some New Deal programs didn't include explicit protections against racial discrimination, and in many cases, the agencies that implemented them allowed racial bias to affect how the decisions were made, okay? African Americans received less aid than white individuals during the Depression and were excluded from projects or were subject to other forms of discrimination. That's for one. For two, the New Deal didn't include agricultural or domestic workers into, the programs. That left most African Americans, especially those who lived in the South, out of the scope and the range of the opportunities that were offered or supposed to be proffered up by the New Deal anyway. So this is when white people were like getting welfare. This is the start of the fucking welfare state as we know it. Now, did them motherfuckers say they ain't want no welfare? Them motherfuckers took that welfare and ran with the shit.
Yep.
But they'll tell your Negro ass that you don't fucking need no welfare. You need to get your bitch ass out there and work. You fucking lazy, chicken eating, watermelon sucking motherfucker. They'll tell you that. Okay.
Yeah, same thing goes with the Homestead Act. Same thing goes with the Homestead Act and the building of these modern suburbs after World War II, like the expansion of suburbia. Yeah, you know what I mean. There's a whole book called When Affirmative Action Was White, talking about that. So
at any rate, look. Then you get housing policies, you know what I'm saying? Like the FHA loan policies, the homeowners loan corporation, they use discriminatory practices like redlining, and they rank neighborhoods based on the racial composition and all of this. And so blacks were left out.
We were not, they did not want us to thrive in America. That was never the plan for us to survive and thrive.
And the Civil Rights Act is where black men and black women took a fucking departure and rolling together and sharing a linked fate. It is what it is. Okay. Black women decided to fucking dive head first into whatever Miss Ann was fucking saying and talking about. That's y'all fault. That's black women's fault. Black women, y'all so fucking educated, you know every goddamn thing. You should have known that this.
Let me ask you something.
I gotta be done with this. I gotta get this off my chest and let it be known. Because at the end of the day, whatever Miss Ann said, black women ran behind that shit. It's like Jason Whitlock said, maybe a year ago. Black women licked their finger, put it up in the air, saw which way the wind was blowing, and decided to do whatever the fucking them white bitches said. So if they said, okay, we're gonna get education for black women and we're gonna not subsidize it for black boys, that's what we rolling with. Now y'all calling yourself magical because you were able to enjoy double minority status by being being a woman and black. Mm-hmm. So now this double minority shit, which was some trickery to begin with in the Civil Rights Act, because look, let's face it, like I said before, white women wasn't hurting for shit. They wasn't hurting for shit. They were set up real pretty. But they decided to stick their nose in the Civil Rights Act, and at the 11th hour, they introduced sex into the act, and now it opened up the pathway for everybody to eat off our plate when we were supposed to be the one who were primarily focused related to civil rights legislation because of the history of slavery and Jim Crow. But they just decided to get a shit to white chicks. So they fucking effectively hijacked the civil rights movement, and black women have now been
but they took
acclimated.
It from black men. They took it directly from black men only, though. That's the part that's very critical.
That's the point. But see, black women didn't pose an objection to the shit. They didn't say, "Hey, we ain't gonna
do anything about it." When they get into Congress and they make these deals, I do a lot of legislative work. You don't get a lot. It's very complicated.
I can tell you this: Fannie Lou Hamer.
When that stuff hits the
Fannie Lou Hamer wasn't saying. Fannie Lou Hamer said a long time ago. Fannie Lou Hamer said, "I don't want to be separated from my husband." Ella Baker wasn't trying to separate from men, even though she was.
I got you, but I'm saying as far as legislation, let's be clear. Legislation.
We already know what the legislation was about, but it's one thing to get legislation and to have something work to your benefit. It's another thing. It's another thing to get legislation working to your benefit and then claim you magical and then start talking about how niggas ain't shit.
But 1 second. I'm talking about, you said the statement you made was that black women didn't do anything about it once the legislation changed.
They didn't object for their men being marginalized and pushed to the periphery. That's one thing they could have done. They didn't do that. Instead, what black women did was, I'm going to tell you what black women did. Black women said that they were oppressed along interstices of sex, gender, sexuality, and class.
But I'm talking about when I'm talking about literally the day that they were passing it. There was not any power.
We already know that, man. We already understand that. We know that. We're talking about their response to the environment in which all of this had taken place. Basically, all I'm saying is, at the time that it happened, black people were in a state of I guess a new sense of euphoria. They think that they had overcome, or whatever the case may be. So the external constraints for them being able to occupy public spaces was removed. So they had hope. Okay, but what eventually ended up happening is people saw the way the law was structured and they created new categories of oppression and discrimination based upon the law. They fuck history and what actually happened in the United States, and it was part of the history of oppression and domination. They just now established categories of oppression ad hoc. This is a fucking philosophical, ethical, legal exercise related to identity politics that has no bearing with what the fuck happened in the history of the U.S. And the only thing I'm saying is because black men were denied to be a part of it, and black women didn't say shit, they kept their mouths closed and was talking about how niggas ain't shit. They started creating movies writing books like I'm Waiting to Exhale and Color Purple and talking about how black men are sexist, rapists, abusers and shit. And how these motherfuckers, we don't need to resort to regressive situations in which black men are in control, because if you give them control, they're going to end up beating the shit out of y'all and raping y'all and fucking leaving y'all black and blue, even though you're already black and blue.
One of the things that
remember, Sojourner Truth also pointed out her argument, because she was the one with the AI woman speech. She actually argued that somehow that so-called black men, or in her words, colored men, getting the right to vote was somehow worse than white men. You know what I mean? Racist white men. So, and you got people like Bell Hooks, who became notorious for her, for her supposedly insightful criticism of so-called black men, even though she used almost no data or citations on any of these hot takes she had about so-called black men. So yes, it's big bucks. It's big bucks in marginalizing so-called black men. So, I mean, you can look at the Tyler Perry movies and how he's been able to make a bunch of money off of that. You can look at a large part of Oprah's legacy. It's a lot of money in that. And always remember, the very first feature film.
Exploitation.
The very first feature film okay, was Birth of a Nation. So I mean, hey.
Yeah, but the thing is this, you guys. At the end of the day, I think that we as Black people we still have to figure out how to be on the same side. And I know that's not easy because there's all these different narratives of how evil. Oh, trust me, I hear Black women talk about, oh, Black men ain't this and Black men I hear it too. But I have to say this, that at the end of the day, we have to decide: are we done with each other? I think that are we done? Do we just walk away and there's no solution, or do we find some other way to coexist? I know for me, I can speak for myself.
Wait, hold on, but I'm gonna answer this. I'm gonna tell you. First of all, I'm gonna let you see something, because it was sisters like this I ain't gonna say a long time ago, but in the 70s and 80s, even the 90s, there were women like the woman I'm about to show you now. And you might not agree with everything she says. Like even Black men might not agree with everything she says. But to me, she was on some shit that's way more progressive for Black folks than the shit we on today. Especially Black women in their politics. Because you got Black women right now talking about, if it ain't nothing in the bill for us, if it ain't nothing in the plan for us, fuck it. We got unique needs and all this kind of shit. That's the sort of shit you hear Black women saying. Like when Ice Cube came up with his plan for Black America, you have Vivica Fox and whatever the rest of them names.
Celebrities. They don't represent nobody.
But peep game. So
neither one of them.
You see, the word sexism was created to replace the word racism. Women's studies was created to replace Black studies. You see? And now they've raised up Black feminists to replace the real sister.
Bam. There you go. So, like, but the cultural inertia at the current moment is such that Black women have fully become imbued with the feminist spirit because it benefits them. But the question is, it don't benefit us. The matter at hand is that feminism and all of this sex positive legislation and all this shit, it does nothing for us. Zero.
Have you thought about the fact that maybe there's a gay agenda at the head of all of this?
No, I don't think it's a white woman agenda, gay or straight. It's a white woman and a white man agenda. Because a white man, a Democrat from fucking Virginia named Howard Smith is the one that introduced sex into the Civil Rights Act to begin with, and he knew what the fuck he was doing.
Well, it's gone beyond feminism at this point. There's a brother named Sheep Stay Sleep. He did a really good stream today, and he was basically showing Black women how we have basically been betrayed by feminism. Because at this point now we have Black males saying that they're women, and now we have gay men who have more rights than Black women. And it's going that direction. Now it seems to be a rainbow agenda, which is the agenda to annihilate the Black race. So there's that part too, and it's discouraging families. And this whole thing, I mean, to me, I wonder sometimes how much of the rainbow is involved in all of this. Because at the end of the day, when you don't, as soon as you
introduce sex into the Civil Rights Act, you open up the pathway for people with different types of agendas to be able to be included in the scope and the range of what the bill is supposed to be offering, and then to downplay the significance of race. Bottom line. So you can talk, of course, the Rainbow Coalition is involved in it.
But not only are they involved in it, but they're directing culture that way. Then the feminization of Black
course they're going to direct culture that way because the pathway was opened up. But like gay shit in this country ain't nothing new. My whole thing is they was fucking gay during slavery. They was fucking men and women. White men was fucking men and women on these plantations, and women was engaging in their fair share. White culture is homoerotic, man. It is what it is, and it was homoerotic during slavery. So this whole idea that they've been oppressed has been some bullshit because they were enacting homoerotic violence on Black folks during slavery.
Okay, that's slavery.
So I'm not. Look, at the end of the day, I'm not denying it. All I'm saying is this: it's some white shit. I don't really ain't that many gay motherfuckers out here for real. Like if you look at the country,
gender is part of popular culture, is what I'm saying.
It is, but why is it? It's only that way because it's some white shit. That's it.
So well, that's what I'm saying. I mean, I think at the end of the day,
I agree with you on that. But my whole thing is it's been white women who are at the cusp of all of this shit.
Oh, absolutely.
And have basically put themselves up in front. They have basically jumped the line on everybody, and they are part of the fucking of colonial, slave-based, segregation, and lynching-based projects in America. They're part of it.
100%. 100%.
So at the end of the day, I'm not, look, all I can say is, and look, I'm about to close out because, you know, I'll be going and doing it. I'll be talking forever, you know what I'm saying? And I'm hungry. But at the end of the day, all I'm trying to articulate is this. With the sex clause in the Civil Rights Act was opened up, black women went right to that shit like a moth to a flame, and they left niggas behind like, fuck you. You might not be able to get this shit, but I am, so fuck you, pay me. Now you got women like Ebony K. Williams like, I don't need a nigga. You got Megan Thee Stallion, we love you, but we don't need you. We got Kiki Palmer like, fuck you niggas.
They're celebrities. They're crazy. At the end of the day, do you think that if black men had been in that position, I'm just asking a hypothetical, do you think if black men had been in the same position, they had been given keys to the kingdom, do you think they would have walked through the door the way that black women did? Do you think?
No, of course not. I'm gonna tell you why. And this should be intuitive,
when men
man.
make money, they tend to focus on family.
Men don't have the same. Men are not hypergamous.
Exactly.
Men don't demand that the woman have the same sort of fucking wherewithal and the income that he has in order to develop a pair bond with her. Women demand the best of because of that sexual selectivity shit. They gotta have the best of 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 the best. I need the best. I need the best money. I need the best jeans. I need the best sperm. I need the best of everything. I need the best clothes, cars. I need the best. I need a soft lifestyle. I'm a soft girl and all this shit. At the end of the day, what the fuck are you doing taking advantage of market-based opportunities and education-based opportunities if by taking advantage of those opportunities, you have no loyalty to the entire collective? Not even on a genetic level. You don't think, I'm saying black people don't think above, they play checkers, not chess. This shit requires multiple moves, setting up multiple positions on a board with files and ranks, and all we doing is playing fucking checkers and tiddlywinks and shit. The whole point is, men go out and take shit, and they get shit, and they bring it back to their family so everybody can eat. Women go out and get shit, and they say, my money is my money, and your money is my money. Now tell me what's fucked up about that scenario. The math ain't mathing. And it ain't an infinite amount of jobs. There's only so many positions in law school that are going to open up next year in UCLA. It's limited, okay? It's a limited amount of corporations with a limited amount of openings, okay? There's a limited amount of seats and jobs and resources. Now, I know theoretically, you know, we can create jobs ad infinitum, but the reality is right here on the ground, whatever city you're in, it's a limited amount of spots. It's playing fucking musical chairs in this bitch. Women decided to get into the musical chairs game, but the problem with it is they have no incentive, no desire, no desiderata whatsoever to support a family and like have a man play a subsidiary role in that setup.
Yeah, I see a lot of racism in institutions and a lot of different things. Historically, you've done a big rundown, which you've been doing for a long time. You have all the studies and all the happenings, the historical issues that have happened. And it's like one big cage. It's one big cage. And it's like, at the end of the day, Miss Ann and Massa standing on the outside looking at us Negroes in the middle fight. Black men and black women.
At the end of the day, all I've been saying is, look, you want to know who's responsible for this internecine so-called gender? Wait a minute, listen, man. Can you listen?
I'm listening.
The problem is that black women decided to go their own fucking way. It's just what it is. But then you say that black men are going their own way and complaining and bitching about some bullshit. You, as a group, a demographic, I'm not saying you personally.
Right.
But as a demographic, black women opted to do what was in their best interest and to attend to their own needs first. They didn't think about the collective. They didn't think about what would happen 4, 5, 6 generations down the line, 20 generations down the line. They just did what was expedient for them. They did what they thought was in the best interest of themselves. So at the end of the day, here we are after the 64 Civil Rights Act, still thoroughly immersed in this gender war bullshit, which we did not start. Black men did not start this gender war shit. It was waged on us by white women and through proxy by black women because y'all keep regurgitating these bitches' talking points. Keep fucking echoing and then have the nerve while doing so to say that we want to be white dudes. If
I didn't say that.
I'm not saying you. I'm just saying the general thrust of the conversation is this. Black men are the white people or black people. Have you ever seen the articles and shit? This is like there's a thing out here. Like black men are trying to imitate white guys and issue in domination and oppression to women inside of their own communities. But they can't do it. So what they end up doing is because they can't imitate, they're powerless to have the same kind of institutional control as white men, they, because of some lack, end up lashing out at black women and raping and beating the shit out of them. This is the narrative, man. Now, I didn't make this shit up. All I can do is just point out to what's actually occurred. And I can tell you, yeah, do black men have some blame to play in some of the shit that happens in the world? Of course. Do black women have some responsibility and some shit to bear for this shit if we're talking about collective progress?
Yeah, of course.
But we can't even talk about black women's participation in the fuckery because as soon as we do, we got niggas and women telling us you just hate black women. You don't love your mama.
Yeah, I call
like this shit is absurd. Like all I can say is, man, look, I said this shit before. I'll say it again. Any society is gonna. One thing we can do, but black people right now we hate blackness so much, or we hate people of African descent so much. We can't even piece together our cultural identity. Like whatever we're like walking around this bitch like Jason Bourne. Don't know who the fuck we are. Like that's why, back in the day, we were robbed of our name, robbed of our language. We lost our religion, our culture, our God. Many of us, by the way we act, we even lost our minds. That's the start of the night of living base heads. We out here like we like zombies out here. Not alive, neither dead, in a liminal state. Not knowing which way to fucking go. So we out here like we fucking deaf, dumb, and blind out here. But here's the point. The key to all of this shit, to be quite honest, is the elevation of black men. But that's some shit that nobody wants to do. Nobody wants to do that.
Yeah,
white men don't want to do that. White women don't want to do that. And black women, unfortunately, also don't want to fucking do that. And that's a problem because you don't even want us involved in our fucking kids' lives. But this is a feature and a function of Western culture that even white bitches are doing this shit too.
What percentage of black women do you think support black men? What percentage, brother?
Man, if they're your mama, they'll support you up to a certain age or maybe even beyond that, but like in terms of like supporting black men on a relationship familial level, they already, you see what the expression is. Like, I mean, like, I know we're talking about entertainers and shit like that.
I don't like talking about them. They're not real.
But the expression of those young girls that you saw that video clip from, them wasn't no fucking entertainers.
No. I mean, that's real. I mean, I was a high school teacher, and I had conversations like that about these.
They don't need no man. Black women have been taught they don't need no goddamn man.
I'd ask them the same question, and they say they don't need, and they don't think there's a purpose of marriage. I was really shocked at it. But these kids also come from bad, rough communities and stuff like that. Also, one of the things that I noticed when I was a teacher as well is the feminization of black males. I often had young girls carrying the boys' stuff, book bags and things like that, doing their work for them, all that kind of stuff. And I had to really fight that culture. And I had to constantly tell them, no, he's a man. You leave him alone and let him do what he needs to do for himself. That mommying, I was constantly battling that in the classroom. And it was something that was acceptable to these young men. They didn't see anything wrong with, that type of dynamic, them depending, like, don't even bring your own paper and pencil. You get it from that girl. That girl gives you your paper and pencil every day. These are the type of things that are institutionalized. That's why I talked about the feminization of males. But I have to say this, there's a couple of people, in your chat or whatever, they don't know much about me, but I don't personally buy into, and I don't play into the gender war, because in my personal life, I decided that I am a lover of black men. And that's how I function. I have a husband, and I do everything I do with him as the center. So I think that's one of the solutions too, is you find Black women who love Black men and you create those families. And that's how we get out of the gender war. That's what I think.
Listen. How can I put it like this? Those women are not the problem. The problem is that people use those women as a meat shield, just like how they use deadbeat dads as a meat shield. When they talk about these good women or whatnot, they don't use them as somebody to strive to be. Okay, for example, like if you want to look at example of notable so-called Black women that made major accomplishments, you can look at the late Mary Kenner who invented the sanitary napkin, or a woman who's still alive, Alison Felix. A shout out to her. She's the most highly decorated Olympic athlete of all time. When we talk about these good women, we use these good women as a meat shield to try to avoid talking about the fuckery.
Okay? I'm not talking about that. I'm not talking about
no, I'm saying
famous women or women who accomplished. I'm talking about.
Let me finish.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay. When it comes to these discussions, when we talk about these good women, the only reason, the problem is not with the women that are, with these good women. The problem is not the women themselves. The problem is that when we talk about these good women, we use them as a meat shield to try to avoid criticizing the women that are basically fuck ups, okay? And then when it comes to the men, we use deadbeat dads as a meat shield, okay? We use deadbeat dads, okay, as an excuse to justify a lot of the misandrous bullshit that goes on. So because a small percentage of so-called Black men are deadbeat dads, we're supposed to treat all Black men like we're deadbeat dads, and that's bullshit. And again, it's a bad faith argument.
No, I'm not trying to argue anything. I'm saying part of the solution.
The good women. The problem is that their existence is used to argue in bad faith.
I'm trying to get out of the circle.
As somebody who's tried, they're not uplifted as somebody.
How do people move out of a circle?
Example of female virtue. They're used as a way of basically, like you said,
how do people move out of a cycle of just keep going in circles? Is what I'm talking about. And when I'm saying at some point you have to get out of the arc and you got to get out of the circle. And what I'm saying is one way to get out of that and get out of that whole thing. I mean, you can't. You sound
like, I'm gonna tell you who you sound like.
You can't control the whole world.
You sound like the truth as I know it. Are you married to him? That's your husband?
Hell no, he's married to a white woman.
Okay, all right, yeah. I'm talking shit. The reason I say that is because look, you got objective features of the world, which are structural, institutional, and like super structural. Okay, and then you have subjective features of the world, which are individual, atomistic, parochial, provincial, shit like that. Right? Now the question is, I understand the idea of the family warrior shit, like we gotta push it.
I ain't got nothing to do with his perspective. I got nothing to do with that.
Can you listen though?
I will.
Cause I'm about to be done with this shit. Cause I'm hungry. Okay, I got some hamburger meat. I'm ready to fucking fry some burgers and some fries. All right. So ultimately, this is what I'm saying. It's gonna be kind of hard to have those kind of families, man, when you got like. I just hate to tell you, man. Like, you got chicks right now, like. Yeah.
What's that? Oh, yeah.
Pound Town. Beat the bitch down.
Oh, God, yeah.
Down. Beat a bitch down. He dicked the bitch down.
I get it. I think at some point we have to get out of that arc. You keep going in circles over and over and over again.
I'm saying, look, I'm telling you. I am telling you.
Okay.
Okay? At the current moment, you got chicks that's basically walking around like this.
I'm not daddy. I'm grown. I'm not daddy. I'm grown.
They the daddy.
That's somebody's daughter. Somebody's daughter.
That's a boy saying that shit. He saying he the daddy, but women walking around acting like this little dude. That's how women walking around like I'm the nigga. During Father's Day, they like Happy Father's Day. Straight up, like me. I'm just telling you how the culture is. Now we can talk about why it is. You say, how can we turn it around? I'm saying. We're not sinking in water. We're not in a fucking water. We're not drowning in water. You know what the fuck we're in?
What?
Quicksand. We're not in water. We're in fucking quicksand. And we act like we can
So you
tread
saying
our way.
basically
We
it
can
ain't no
tread
hope?
our
Is that
way
what
out
you're
of this
saying?
shit. We can
You saying
tread.
it's no hope? No hope. That's what you're saying. No hope.
A lot of black men have already said in this space. Now, this is most black men on some blue pill shit, and they believe we can work it out. That's most black men. But the numbers are increasing. They're growing because black men are becoming tired of having to deal with the attitude of, I don't need a motherfucker. If somebody tell you, I don't give a fuck if it's your husband. If your husband told you, May, I don't need your ass. And all he says to you every time you come home, instead of giving you a kiss or, like affirming the relationship through some sort of gesture, emotively or physically, he's saying, you go to kiss him, I don't need no kiss. You go to hug him, I don't need no hug. Eventually you're gonna be like, well, fuck you then. I don't need your ass either then.
So the goal is basically, it sounds hopeless. So the goal is basically to talk about these bad women that'll never change, and we're never going to get married again in the black community.
That's not it. Not for these guys. These guys are like, these guys are already checked out. These guys are already checked out.
So the goal is everybody to keep checking out, basically.
No, May. The goal is to get these young brothers to focus on their own self-interest and stop worrying about trying to save people that don't want to be saved. Okay?
Check out. Everybody check out.
Hold up. Let me finish, May. Okay? Essentially, it's like this. And this is what Raj Chetty pointed out when he wrote this article back in 2018 about how if you want to stop a lot of this poverty, you actually need to invest in the boys, okay? The so-called black community marginalizing, a lot of so-called black men, especially working-class black men, okay? It's like an NFL team trying to tell you that they don't need an offensive or defensive line because they're just a bunch of big niggas that get in the way. And we need to focus on special teams and being completely air quote shocked and surprised that the quarterback's getting sacked 15 times a game. You're getting like 1.7 yards per carry and you're giving up like 350 rushing yards a game. You can't go out of your way, generation after generation after generation after generation after generation, constantly pushing these men to the side and telling them they don't fucking matter, and then turn around and say, oh, well, where are the men at? It don't work like that. If you, any community that's willing to betray and undermine and sacrifice the well-being of the men, especially the young men, in order to uphold this false sense of moral supremacy, that community is basically committing suicide.
It's dead. Yeah, that's what I'm getting.
Exactly. So you can't then turn around and complain about why these guys are checking out because you.
Oh, I ain't complaining. I'm not.
I'm saying you can't. We as a society can't complain about these men checking out when we've gone out of our way to tell them that they don't matter. Like and again, it was fine when these men were being disrespected and were basically told to just shut up and take it, that whole alpha your way through it talk, all that other bullshit. As soon as the men started saying fuck it and gave up on, how can I put it this?
What is it called? MAGTOW? Is that what y'all call it?
When men had hope, hold up. When men had hope of a better tomorrow, people amped up the disrespect and they amped up the disrespect. I mean, look at people like A.G. Gaston. I mean, this brother was a Harlem Hellfighter. He made $130 million in wealth during his lifetime, yet he was one of the most frequently disrespected, notable public figures of the civil rights era. I mean, literally, like him and his wife had their home firebombed the night after they went to a White House dinner with John F. Kennedy. Okay? What happens is that when you have this culture of flagrant misandry, and you're constantly trying to reinforce that, under any type of narrative it
don't
is.
Forget you got misandry, modernization. Don't forget all the other parts now. Don't forget all the other parts.
You cannot then turn around and be shocked and
racism,
surprised.
white man on your neck, all that. Don't
Hold
forget
on,
those parts.
let me finish, May. Like I said, you can't then turn around and complain about why these guys are checking out and basically have given up on family, because the people who complain the most about why these guys are checking out are the very people who vote for social policies that fuck up the family in the first place. That's the harsh truth that people don't want to accept. The very people trying to talk down to so-called black men about saving the community, you look at their track record, their voting patterns, their sentiments, they're the ones who advocated for the destruction of the community. So you're getting mad about something
Yeah,
that you fought for.
So look, hey, check it,
both
peep
inside
game.
and
All
outside.
right, so look, I'm about to leave you with a stat, then I'm gonna get the fuck up out of here because it's
Green
3:10.
Gorilla, I want to ask you real quick. Why are you always cooking for yourself?
Cause man, I'm on some monk shit. Okay?
I notice every time you say that I'm getting hungry, I gotta go cook, and I'm like, why is he cooking for himself?
Man, I ain't got no chick right now. Don't even want one.
Okay.
Unfortunately, I got 2 children, 2 girls. They grown. I'm 52 years old. I done reproduced as much as I'm gonna reproduce. I definitely ain't about to go through this shit no more.
Oh, you're a monk. Okay.
You know what I'm saying? There ain't no way in hell I'm about to go through the shit I've been through with a chick. Arrogant, ignorant. The relationships never start off that way. It's cool. It's always cool in the beginning. But then it turns into some bullshit even after the children are born. Even if you dedicate and commit yourself to these chicks, it gets ignorant. Because now they got a bargaining chip on you. Now they know they can climb.
You've been through this one time, right? Just once.
I've been through it twice.
Twice.
I've been through
That's not every
like,
black woman, though.
We know this. But the preponderance of evidence demonstrates that most marriages end up in divorce. Most relationships are set up right now, and most families are non-custodial for men. They don't have custody of the kids and the women does. It's just the facts. I've seen the evil shit. I've seen the evil shit that bitches is out here doing. I done seen it firsthand. I've experienced it. And I'm a motherfucker. I'm an elite nigga.
Yeah. I was gonna say you.
It don't matter. That shit does not matter. Any motherfucker saying they want a nigga 6 foot tall, 6 figures, doing all this shit, they're fucking lying. That's what they want. That's what they're attracted to.
Right.
That's what they feel like. That's the entry fee. But these chicks ain't dedicated to shit but their own fucking goddamn hedonism. That's it. Wait, I'm not happy. Happy with what? You ain't happy with your fucking self. You ain't never been happy. That's the motherfucking problem. Like you want niggas to make you happy. Bitch, you supposed to satisfy and soothe your damn self ever since you learned how to fucking go to sleep with the baba. Why a nigga gotta fucking rock you to sleep? What the fuck is this shit? You got motherfuckers demanding that they buy them shit that's superficial. Or give them access to a superficial ass middle class life. If you at war, you supposed to be on the grind. They know how to grind for everybody except for grind for the... Talk about family warrior. Y'all ain't the family warriors. That's the whole thing. That's the point.
Yeah, we got to change our culture. We got to.
Y'all ain't the family warriors. You should be the Black women have the capacity to dive headfirst into family life and to be... And if you do so, one thing about family life is this. It's something that's reciprocal. It's not just something that's supposed to just benefits are supposed to accrue to you like Cinderella. She's supposed to get the motherfucking the Prince Charming and shit. This is how relationships are characterized today. Some nigga supposed to come save a broke bitch or something. Come on, man, ain't how this shit work. Or give her a soft lifestyle or some shit. This ain't how this shit works. It don't even work like that for white people. I know many white women, man, who fucking work in the university system and shit. They grinding like their husbands grinding. We the only group of people demanding that we live up to these unrealistic ideals and shit. The only group, man. I done had white women, man, I swear to fucking God, man, white feminists who run the fucking feminist programs in the departments and shit at the university got husbands and shit. Talking about smash the patriarchy, but they got a fucking patriarch in the crib.
Mm-hmm. I've seen that too.
Motherfucker, one motherfucker teaching feminism, the other one teaching masculine studies. But we don't play the game. We so busy trying to fucking have a war over who the boss is in a plantation. Over what? Pig feet and hog maws? Shit is fucking ridiculous. I'm just telling you, I done seen motherfuckers, women cut their own nose off to spite their face.
You know, it was interesting. Pearl Davis, she actually revealed that her mom had gotten all kind of financial benefits that was set up under those, those affirmative action. She used the company, and her white husband, they basically benefited together. She got a lot of funding because she was 51% female. And so that was a perfect example of how white women will work to help white men.
I done had women be, I'm supposed to be your man. You mad at me because I got a fucking job promotion. I'm supposed to be your fucking man, but you jealous of me. I'm sleeping with a motherfucker that's jealous of me being upwardly mobile. But that's what the fuck you say you want. But as soon as you got it, you mad at that shit. And explain that shit to me. Oh, you think you better than me. Bitch, you think I think I'm better than you. That ain't even how I come across with nobody I encounter. Now, I ain't gonna just fucking shrink in front of you and make you feel good just to make you feel good. I'm not gonna just give you a cookie and be like, you're equal to me if we having an argument and I think you wrong. I'm not gonna just capitulate and be like, oh, well, you're right. I'm not gonna, yes, dear. I ain't that type of nigga. I don't do yes, dear shit. If I got an issue or a problem, I think it's something, because I'm a truth seeker. If I feel like it's not part of the truth, I don't want to participate in it. I ain't gonna go along to get along. Fuck that. I don't do that. I don't go along to get along. But you got motherfuckers mad at you because you working. You ever heard the excuse, he was working too much type of shit? This shit is crazy. Niggas out here killing themselves trying to support families, and you got bitches, white, black, brown, you work too much. Well, who the fuck told you I was supposed to be there taking care of your every fucking desire? Making sure every little fucking thing you want is romantic. Who lives like that, man? The problem, and then this culture is all microwave. It's a fucking microwave culture where motherfuckers, soon as the problem presents itself, motherfuckers, they don't know how to fix it themselves. They need somebody externally to fix it, or they just say, fuck it, I'm gonna start over again. There's no commitment to anything. Motherfuckers like it's like a major at a college who never fucking picks one every year. At some point, you gotta fucking shit or get off the pot. This is what I'm doing. And make it work. But then you got all these women supporting this whole, everything is an excuse to get out of a commitment. The only thing niggas is asking for is, especially a nigga like me, I can't speak for every other man, but goddamn it, if you say you gonna commit to a relationship, submit to the fucking relationship. It's bigger than you. It ain't just about your motherfucking ass and your feelings and all what you want and all this shit. If you say you want to be in a relationship, the relationship is most important, not your petty ass bullshit. Motherfuckers, in our community, we can't even get over disagreements because motherfuckers, they don't know how to let shit go. I done seen chicks be mad at their husbands for years. I'm mad at him. I don't like, he pisses me. Bitch, you pissing yourself off. Anger is a choice. Yeah, being sassy is a choice. Being a bitch is a choice. It don't just happen like that. You gotta decide, I'm a bitch. And this is my power. That's not, I can tell you this is not the ma'at. If you want to talk about African traditions, it's not part of ma'at, the ancient Kemetic tradition of balance in family and fucking political life. It's not. It ain't part of the Mandinka, the Ifa, the Ofe. It ain't part of none of that shit. It ain't part of the Yoruba, none of that shit. This is some, I don't know what the fuck this shit is. I really can't. You got black women who are divestors now talking about black women who got husbands like you are mammies and shit. I thought a mammy on the plantation was a black woman who fucking was a house nigga who worked for fucking Miss Ann.
I get called mammy constantly. I
don't understand. They done flipped the script on what a fucking mammy is. Maybe I gotta go back and do a video on the portrait and the caricaturization of a fucking mammy. And if mammy ain't fucking serving her husband, she's serving white motherfuckers.
The white man, exactly.
And then you going, oh, I need a white man. I need a zaddy. You a mammy. You the same sort of fucking motherfuckers that they talking about. When they say mammy, do I have to show the video of the Joel Osteen mammy? Mammy, I love you, mammy.
Or that black woman that got on her knees and ran to it. What did she do? She went and bowed down to Prince Charles. That was the biggest mammy moment I've seen her forever.
Meghan Markle?
No, there was a black lady in a Prince Charles was in a kitchen or something. This African lady got on her knees and she just started going full speed on her knees to him to bow down to him.
Man, fuck all that shit. Look, at the end of the day, here's the facts. Now, I'm not saying that the facts are. You got to counter check everything, but there's a study. This is basically like published in the New York Times, but it's covering the research of several Ivy League professors who basically demonstrate that when it comes to the wealth gap and what's driving it, income inequality and like all of this shit, it's what's happening to boys. That's the problem. It's not what's happening to black women that's the issue. It's what's happening to boys that's the problem. But as soon as we say this, you got a whole bunch of niggas, even in the manosphere, who gonna tell you fucking crying. We telling you how to fix the shit. But as soon as we try to tell you how to fix it, the first thing that gets proposed to us is, oh, you're crying, you whining, you ain't got no skills. I'm about done with this space, man. Sometimes I feel like I'm fucking done with this shit. Yeah, and the reason I did the show today was because I'm tired of guys, man, acting like they Supermen. John Henry, like some of these guys act like they tough out here, and I know they not tough. Some of these guys out here act like they rough and fucking tough. You that goddamn rough, don't come at me. Go at the crackers to fucking enslave your people then, bitch. That'll impress me.
And I know you're going to cuss me out for saying this, but can't two things be possible? Can't it be possible that black men can absolutely better themselves, especially those who think they're going to be on their own?
They got to try. They have to make the attempt. They have a duty to try. A duty to themselves, if not anybody else. And what do you think SYSBM is, really?
Now, I mean, you an educated brother. You an educated brother. You an elite brother. And there's a lot of brothers who should probably try to. I'm not saying y'all.
But try for themselves, not for y'all.
Agreed, for themselves, yeah.
Because at the end of the day, a lot of y'all with y'all mind state, you'll fuck everything up a nigga doing.
Oh.
And be happy, be satisfied in having done it. Be in fucking glee like a pig rolling around in mud. Oh, I fucked that nigga off. I fixed that nigga. Who wants to play on a team with a motherfucker that's rooting against you? Who wants to play on that team? I'm going up to fucking score a layup, and you fucking coming in like Mutombo trying to block me from scoring. And passing the ball to the enemy and shit, the fucking opposition. This is the shit we dealing with. I swear to God, I'm telling you, I ain't telling you what the fuck we're dealing with.
I understand, but is there any way that y'all can avoid, brothers can avoid such people? Is there any
We had to stop fucking around with y'all. I'm sorry.
That's not the whole race though, brother.
Man, hey, bro.
It's a big amount.
Sis, I'm keeping it a buck with you. You know what they say? If there's smoke, there's fire.
It's a large amount, but there's still sisters.
I'm not saying, but it's like this. If it's a pond and you're going fishing, or you're gonna go fishing where the fish are toxic as a motherfucker, and if you take a bite of the shit, it's damn near gonna kill you, or you're gonna go to another lake where they got healthier fish and them motherfuckers biting.
Well, now you sound like Truth As I Know It, who promotes the going to the other.
I'm not saying it's even going to other. I'm saying black women in America aren't the only black women in existence.
Okay. All right, so that answers my question.
So y'all gotta have some humility. I don't see black women having humility. I see black women talking about they magical, they queens, they sassy, they boss bitches, they high value, they alpha woman. I don't see a lot of humility, and I'm just keeping it real. Where's the humility, man?
No, I get it. I mean, it sounds like pure hopelessness to me. I mean, I don't see no hope from what you're saying. There's no hope. It's none, not zero. Not
I'm saying, where is the fucking if women would be humble? You know what? That's what Kendrick Lamar talking about. Be humble. Niggas is telling y'all. How many times do niggas have to tell y'all the same shit? It's like if a woman had to tell a man the same amount of shit over and over again, she'd be like, that's the dumbest nigga I ever knew. This nigga don't listen. But if we tell you some shit over and over and over again, you still don't have the capacity. And I'm not saying you personally, but don't have the ability to fuck. And the odd thing about it is women are supposed to be empathic more so than men. They're supposed to be able to pick up on clues that aren't necessarily obviously stated. So either there is an understanding of what's going on and a gaslighting project taking place, or you don't give a fuck, or you just like to see misery, you sadistic shit. And like it's like Charlie Brown trying to motherfucking kick the football. How many times is Lucy gonna pull the football away from a motherfucker before he says, I'm not trying to kick this shit no more? And black men love black women. We love the way y'all look. We like some of y'all style, but some of y'all motherfuckers, that style and that look and all that shit, it ain't all this crack up to be. And after a certain period of time, nigga done hit it so many times, that shit, who cares?
You see, that bothers me, like the hopelessness, but then you say, we love you all. But then there's the hopelessness, and it goes
but
back.
But the love is superficial because it's only predicated upon either what the man imagines in his head the woman could be, or he's in love with the physical, or the look, the aesthetic. But it takes more than aesthetics to hold a relationship together. And unfortunately, in this culture, it ain't just black women, it's all women are on some super. Why you think Fresh and Fit got white chicks on the show?
Yeah.
Why is there a white manosphere? Why are there like male, like men's rights activists like Paul Elam and shit? Why is there something called men going their own way? Now I'm not saying look, I'm saying that this shit has gotten out of hand, and it's primarily because white women push the shit too far. They've gone too fucking far.
Yeah.
Black women, gay people, let me explain something to you. I'm gonna put it real simple. I'm gonna do a show about this at some point. Okay? Mm-hmm. When the 1964 Civil Rights Act was passed, the politics of recognition became the paramount kind of politics that existed in the United States. We moved away from the New Deal kind of policies that were based on economics, and everything became based on identity shit. Whether or not you're gay, whether or not you're a woman, whether or not you're black. Now, we already know that black people are disproportionately poor. We already know that shit. Now, white people, if they're gay or women, aren't necessarily fucking destitute or poor. But we moved away from economic policies and politics, which is what the left is supposed to be based on. That's the core of leftist policies, supposed to be economic justice. We moved from that to who can fuck who. Who's gonna be on the Bud Light can? Who can go into what bathroom? You got niggas out here dying of fucking diseases that are treatable. Niggas out here fucking getting their lights and gas and shit cut off. When motherfuckers talking about who they can fuck and whether or not they can be a woman or a man. This, to me, is some bullshit. I've been saying it. The politics of recognition has superseded material politics, which is what the left is supposed to be based on. And the left, they could give 2-3 fucks about it because they keep doubling down on identity politics. Giving a big fat bird to black men. All they keep doing is giving us the goddamn bird. So at the end of the day, black men are like, fuck this shit. What's the reason for us trying to dedicate ourselves to something somebody else's? You got to match energy. If the energy is not reciprocated, niggas is like, fuck this shit.
So I guess that, there's this big controversy going on in the Black manosphere right now about skills and resources, and this idea of just
Niggas got resources, man. Niggas in the manosphere
but I'm just
have
saying that
resources.
conversation is happening about what is really the priority, because like M1 says, it's somebody out here trying to take your lunch at the end of the day. And it's true, we got bigger fish to fry culturally, and we all got to survive whether we together or not.
I believe we have bigger fish to fry too. Okay, look, I do. I understand that we need to have some sort of economic base where we can support ourselves and be productive, such that we're not left out here destitute because we're not developing our capacities in a way that we can be marketable. I get it, okay? I understand that.
Okay.
But at the same time, what I'm telling you is I've gone over this shit on so many different levels and in so many different fucking ways. Okay?
Yeah.
At the end of the day, Black people are caught up in Horatio Alger alpha talk, which to me is baseless. It has no fucking basis in reality. White people, they didn't turn down fucking the New Deal, but then they'll tell you you're a lazy, no good loafer and chiseler for taking the little peanuts and shit they throw you, some little fucking peanut butter and some cheese. Bitch, if you would have just let us into the New Deal, we wouldn't be having these fucking conversations. Wouldn't be a need. If you wouldn't have stopped motherfucking Reconstruction, it wouldn't have been a problem. But you motherfuckers made it a problem. If you would have let the Civil Rights Act go the way it was supposed to, we could have been working on rectifying the issue, but they keep kicking the can down the road and keep trying to fucking push us to the periphery. At the end of the day, this is not just based upon developing fucking skills and getting a middle class job. Because at the end
that's
of
not
the
the
day,
only part. No, that's not the only part. No.
The reality is, Black boys are on the downwardly mobile track, even if they come from good families. So all you family warriors, no disrespect, I rock with you, True. I get what you're trying to do. But even those families are set up in such a way that boys are fucking on a downwardly mobile track.
Yeah.
Do you see it? Most white boys raised in wealthy families will stay rich or upper middle class, but Black boys raised in similarly rich households will not. So even if you come from a rich household, they still trying to fuck your ass over.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not the same way for girls.
I mean, I shared that with BGS when I was talking to him. I did my I have a dissertation. I started a doctorate program, but I had to quit because I wanted to have a child, so I had to quit the program. But in my whole graduate studies, the one thing that I did constantly was build on the same research, and the research was based on following how Black males are treated in the public school system. And it was really astounding. The more I did the research, and what I saw was that by the third grade, the way that they're treated by 90% of, which is mostly women, white teachers, that they are completely discouraged. They're tracked into, especially, and I'm not saying anything you don't already know, but at the end of it, I found that the only solutions the other scholars had come up with, overwhelmingly that benefited Black males, was for them to be educated by other Black males in a single sex environment.
And they don't want that to happen. As soon as Black men start talking about doing some shit like that, guess who are the first people to step up and to argue that it's discriminatory? White gay motherfuckers and white women. Exactly. And then Black women come up and they piggyback the shit, and then they start talking about intersectionality.
No, I support it. I think that Black males, I mean, that's what the Jewish people do. They have separate schools for their sons. I think that's necessary.
At this point,
and I agree with you. That's the only reason why it hasn't happened, is because they always say, oh, Title IX, oh, that's discrimination.
Identity politics is what these people are fucking doubling down on, and they don't give a fuck about, because see, they're not suffering in these conditions. Like, if you're a white gay motherfucker, you ain't going to a goddamn school in the inner city.
You're privileged.
But they don't consider themselves to be privileged. And the first thing they'll do is use Black people as attack dogs. Oh, well, Black trans women died about so many. Like, man, cut the fucking bullshit out, man.
But, wouldn't that be something to focus on, though? I'm not trying to say, like, what is necessary, but I think that would be something good as a movement. to move towards, focusing on pushing public schools to have charter schools, to have, singular male focused
Good
schools.
luck with that. Because while they got rid of affirmative action in relation to race, they didn't get rid of Title IX. They ain't challenged that shit.
True. Yeah.
They ain't challenged, gender equality and the gay shit. They ain't changed that. That wasn't even a factor of being discussed when it came to affirmative action in higher education. Not even a fucking factor. Think they gonna roll back all them goodies them white women got? Fuck no. They ain't about to roll that shit back. Because the shit, they hijacked it on purpose anyway.
But I'm just telling you, it is possible through charter schools. If you have a concentrated amount of parents in a predominantly Black environment, it's a possibility. It's a possibility, a small possibility. I see white people get together and have all kind of theme schools and all kind of strange museum schools. They do it. So I'm just saying, it is a possibility. It's a possibility.
But look here, man. Let me just say this, man. Never mind, Gigi said he was hungry, huh?
Yeah, I'm sorry. You over there starving.
Now, he saved me. Thank you, Indigo Flow. Stuart D. Knight, Arthur, thank you for the $10 holler. And again, Black Man Image. He says, great show. Thanks for this, Gigi. And I know I'm a rebel
Uber
rouser.
Eats at this point.
No, I ain't about to do no Uber Eats. Fuck that shit.
Okay.
I ordered $200 worth of groceries today.
Oh
shit! I'm about to eat. I done ordered chicken, hamburger, steaks, motherfucking potatoes. You know what I'm saying? Fruit, vegetables. Man, I'm about to eat. Fuck all that. I'm about to order shit.
Well, I thank you for having a conversation with me. And I just have to say, I have hope. And I hope you guys are not hopeless. Y'all sound like it, but I hope it's not.
Trust me, you know what? This space is seen, a lot of Black men are done. But one thing I can tell you is, there are a lot of Black men here who do still have hope. And they believe that the conversation and the discussion needs to be had. But the one thing that these guys are not gonna do is be gaslit and be told that they don't need to think the way that they're thinking, that like they can't go through the psychological steps that they need in order to convince themselves to do what's best for themselves. Like we gotta work through this shit, because Black women have been working through this shit in the academy formally. They've been writing, they got TV shows, movies, books, and all kind of shit where they're talking about their issues in themselves and how they need to prioritize themselves. As soon as Black men even begin thinking about what's in their best interest, everybody takes umbrage with it. Then now we got the faith thing gone. Now we don't believe we can work it out. It's like, hold on. We are not the ones that gave up. Like, if you read the literature on this shit, you see statement after statement about how these niggas, fuck them. We telling you, here we are out here hemorrhaging. What y'all do? Y'all fucking kick us down even further and call the master on it. Get this nigga! Come get this nigga! And then you like, damn, what the fuck? Now I'm ending up with a court case with a chick that's supposed to be my fucking, the mother of my child? Now I got a fucking case with a bitch. Over custody and all this stupid ass shit. And women acting like they sitting there innocent. Oh, well, I couldn't hurt a fly. Massa, he did all that. And when you sit back and listen to it, you're like, oh, this bitch serious? It's like the sassy trucker in Dubai. I just screamed. I bet you that bitch was tearing up shit, yelling, screaming, cursing. I bet she was doing all kind of ignorant shit. I'm out, man. Look, all I can tell you is niggas been stung by, motherfuckers have been stung by a lot of y'all, man. And it's been systemic, the way we've been stung.
I suspect that much. I think a lot of, because I think the numbers is what, about 35 to 50 is the age of most of the people in the spaces for the most part. Yeah, about that.
A lot
age.
of us got kids.
That's what I'm saying. So
a
y'all
lot of us been married. A lot of us. The marriage game in the United States is a fucking racket.
But there's a song Erykah Badu has, and I know you've heard it, Bag Lady. And there's a lot of that going on. And I mean, what are y'all gonna do about the younger men? I guess that's the question, because they don't.
The younger men ain't gonna listen. The younger men, if they had a predilection to listen to us, they will. But a lot of young men, you know, they out here, man, brand new in the game. Like, one thing you can't do with a young motherfucker is, you know, make them, you know, like, it all depends on what kind of personality they have. Young men have a lot of testosterone and they're risk takers, thrill seekers. Yeah. So, you know, when I was young, motherfucker couldn't tell me shit. I had OGs telling me, don't fucking get that bitch pregnant. Like, literally.
Yeah.
You think she love you now? Wait till you get her ass pregnant. She's cute, pretty, and all that shit. But I'll tell you, wait till you drop a motherfucking baby off in her, nigga. You the prize. I mean, now you got OGs telling me with gray hair, you are the prize. Don't let her trap your ass up. Don't let her get your ass out here fucked up, because as soon as, watch the game how it flips when you have a kid. And these grown men that had kids. But you know, as a youngster, you laying up in the pussy, everything's great and good. I never had birth with a chick or from a one night stand or no shit like that. I would never do that. That's stupid to me. The women I was with at least 4 years with each one before I even considered having a kid with one of them motherfuckers. How long do you have to vet a motherfucker? Like 40 years? 10 years? How long do you have to vet one of these motherfuckers?
You know,
everything is good until the baby drop.
Youth has a lot to do with it. I think some of the stuff that it's like, you know, the youth, being young, you have an open heart and an open mind, and you don't have a lot of things that have happened to you. You all have had a whole lot of life experience, and I'm not discounting that experience, but being that it's heavier for you because you've had repeating situations, you know what I mean? And it makes it feel like that's just how it is. And I would say that there are some young people that they're going to be able to sidestep a lot of this stuff. A lot of them will.
Well, I hope they do, because we telling them, hey, look, at the end of the day, you got some choices to make. And, you know, the only thing, look, as I was trying to say earlier, man, you know, look, and I'm about to get off. I swear I'm about to get off.
Okay,
you know, because you'll hold me on this motherfucker forever. But
I didn't do it.
So look, at the end of the day, what I've been trying to articulate, is that, and I think this is how we got into this conversation, is why you even came on here. You came on here to talk about personal responsibility.
Yeah.
Okay? And my whole viewpoint on it is, you don't know everything about a motherfucker right then and there, man, when you meet a motherfucker, man. You don't know, man. Motherfuckers have a tendency to change. Life it's like a winding staircase. If you know anything, I can't get too deep into it, but it's like a winding staircase. You don't know what the destination gonna end up at. Mm-hmm. Some things you can't see ahead of time. You can try to troubleshoot and to try to prognosticate as much as you possibly can, but you don't know all the factors of the future. You can't see it. Nobody knows what the future holds. All you can do is have a hopeful attitude that, you know, the things will, you know, get better. But you don't know what the fuck exactly another motherfucker gonna do. You gotta put trust in somebody.
Yeah.
And the ultimate trust nowadays, they taking what should be a blessing from God and nature, however you want to perceive it. Nature, God, it should be a blessing to have children and to grow a family. This shit has been converted into the worst, terrible of fucking curses. This is antithetical to nature itself. Motherfucking fathers don't even have, you don't have to see your kid unless I say type shit. Bitch, you didn't like the shit. Women didn't like it when motherfucking men had absolute control over that situation. Now they got that situation.
No, it's toxic. No doubt about it.
So anyway, man, peace to y'all, man. Peace to you, man. I mean, some people might be irritated with you. You can come back and holler at me. But, you know, sometimes I'm going to have to put you on pause, though. But y'all be peaceful, man. I will holler at y'all. Tomorrow I will be on. Me and Dr. Johnson going to chop it up, man. We're going to talk about is the black culture a gynocracy or not? Why did Amazing Lucas get mad when I said the black culture is concubine culture? Why? You mad at your mommy? You worried about your mommy? Anyway, man, I'll holler at y'all later, man. Y'all be peaceful, man. I'll holler at y'all. I'm gone this time. Peace out, man.